the incredibly toxic environment we've gotten to where, you're just not sure. I mean, even I would say the Democrats and the state of Biden's health feels like there was a little dishonesty and a little bit of covering up for problems that they got really burned for. And okay, like the public is like, no, actually, we really do want trustworthy politicians who thoughtfully disagree about political matters, and that's fine. At least I hope so. And I hope to encourage people to say, actually, you should care. Like if you say, well, I know he's a lying scoundrel, but he's my lying scoundrel, that's going to bite you. It's going to bite all of us. So don't do that.
Thank you for listening to the interview from the BBC World Service. You'll find more in-depth conversations on the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, including episodes with Yoshua Bengio, one of the so-called godfathers of AI, Elliot Higgins, founder of Bellingcat, and the education campaigner Malala Yousafzai. Until the next time, bye for now.
From the BBC, that was The Interview. I'm Saroja Coelho. CBC News is next.
Good morning, Manitoba. Woo! Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome to the Friday show. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app, and on YouTube. It is not only Halloween, it is, of course, the day where the Blue Jays could win the World Series. First time in 32 years. We'll see if they get it done tonight against the Dodgers. Wear my Blue Jay blue. Did my best. Didn't actually turn my Bomber jersey inside out, so I found a shirt. 3 minutes to 6. Your morning show's on until 8:37 today. The team is all here. Heather Wells in our news center. Darren Marash, our YouTube producer. Morning, Darren, in Studio 15 if you're watching the stream. Abby Adiyemi in our control room behind the board and also going to be on the air with weather. Hi, Abby. And good morning to Corey Funk, who directs the show and will be covering your commute. So what's Halloween looking like? Mainly cloudy. Chance of showers, 30% chance, and a high of 5 degrees in Winnipeg. If you're trick-or-treating in Brandon, 60% chance you'll see some rain today. A high of 4 degrees. And in Thompson, a 30% chance of flurries this morning, some freezing drizzle, and your high around 0. So not bad. I know if you're from another province, you might go, whoa, cold, but we're in Manitoba, so not bad. Let's get into what's happening in the news. Here's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, a veteran from late Manitoba First Nation hopes the military's actions speak louder than its words. Retired Corporal Melvin Swan won a human rights case against the Canadian Forces in 1994. He had to wait another 30 years to get a formal apology. That came yesterday in Ottawa. Swan says what's important now is what comes next. Winnipeg City Council has given the green light to extending on-request bus service in residential areas later at night. Right now, the on-request service operates until 10:15 at night. That prompted complaints from people like night shift workers. So now, starting in December, buses will operate until 2 in the morning on 10 of Transit's 12 on-request zones. We'll hear more in our next local news at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
In the first hour of the show, we will tee up that Blue Jays game. Also, we'll have a look at how some Ukrainian newcomer entrepreneurs are putting down roots in Manitoba's business community, so stay tuned for that. And then at 10 to 8 this morning, innocent until proven guilty. That's what a community law center is urging people to consider when talking about bail reform. They have some reaction to the new changes at the federal level. Right now, though, World Report.
On cue. The great rapper, musician, and previous host of our show, Shad, has a new record, one that marks 20 years in Canadian music. He'll tell you about getting his early start rapping in London, Ontario, getting inspiration from an interview he did with Paul Simon, and why he doesn't worry about a career in music.
Can't do all things, don't dream big till you handle small things.
Q with Tom Power, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Prime Minister Mark Carney is opening the door to a new, more constructive relationship with China. This morning at the APEC summit, Carney had a one-on-one meeting with President Xi Jinping. It's the first formal leader-to-leader contact between the two countries since 2017. The CBC's Murray Brewster has the details.
This meeting today is long overdue.
Going into this high-stakes meeting, Mark Carney tried to temper expectations by saying this was a reset of relations with China, a first step, if you will. He was pleased with the result.
We now have a turning point in the relationship, a turning point that creates opportunities for Canadian families, for Canadian businesses.
At the outset, while the media was still in the room, President Xi Jinping spoke first, acknowledging the rift between Canada and China. He said Beijing wanted to push the relationship back onto a healthy, sustainable path. Relations between China and Canada have been strained, defined by almost a decade of mistrust and sporadic economic engagement. Carney was invited to visit China for further talks, and he says he'll go. The dialogue with Xi comes one day after the Chinese leader sat down with U.S. President Donald Trump, a meeting that dialed back the trade war between the two economic superpowers for the time being. Carney didn't say precisely what was accomplished with Xi, and if or when any of the costly sanctions on Chinese electric vehicles and Canadian canola would be lifted. Marie Brewster, CBC News, Gyeongju, South Korea.
The Angus Reid Institute is asking Canadians how they feel about the Ontario government's anti-tariff ad. The commercial angered U.S. President Donald Trump, and he responded by threatening to raise the tariffs on Canada again. According to the poll, about 43% of respondents believe that ad put Canada in a worse negotiating position. Only 13%, though, said they were strongly against the Ontario government's decision to run the ad. On the other side of the equation, 31% strongly supported it. Millions of Americans are on the verge of losing the support they need to buy food. The government shutdown means a halt to payments into the program called SNAP. It's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which helps low-income Americans buy food. That means the program runs out of money tomorrow. The CBC's Willie Lowry is covering the story. Willie, what's happening there?
So it's another side effect of what has become the second longest government shutdown in this country's nearly 250-year history. Starting tomorrow, the federal government says it can no longer fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, once known as food stamps. On its website, the U.S. Department of Agriculture says simply, the well has run dry, and blames Democratic lawmakers for voting against the continuing resolution bill that would fund the government for the next 7 weeks. But a federal judge in Massachusetts has pushed back. Democratic governors from roughly 24 states sued the government to keep SNAPs running. Judge Indira Talwani indicated that she is likely going to call on the Trump administration to use emergency reserves to at least partially fund SNAP through November. Some 42 million Americans rely on the program.
Will he unpack the politics around all of this?
Absolutely. So both Republicans and Democratic lawmakers are blaming each other and working on separate legislation, calling for SNAP to be funded despite the shutdown. Democrats are accusing the Trump administration of wielding the threat of Americans losing food benefits as a means to try and force their political will.
His intention really is to use hunger as a political weapon, hunger of our children, families, disabled. It's really striking to me.
That was New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. Speaker Mike Johnson defended his party's decision.
Because if you deviate from the goal of reopening the entire government, Chuck Schumer and the radicals over there will continue to play games with people's paychecks, their livelihoods.
Across the country, states are scrambling to try and cover the cost of SNAP benefits to ensure that their residents get the food they need. But in most cases, it's not possible to cover it all.
CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Thanks, Willie.
My pleasure.
The Northern Caribbean is in the middle of a major recovery effort cleaning up after Hurricane Melissa. Right now, the easiest way to get around Jamaica is by motorbike. More than 130 roads blocked by trees, debris, and downed power lines. And in St. Elizabeth Parish, one hospital had its roof torn off. Jana Simpson is an ER doctor there.
I think we expected damage, of course, but not this magnitude of damage. There's not one area that is without wreckage. It has caused a lot of people to now be homeless.
Thousands of people are in shelters. Authorities have confirmed at least 19 deaths in Jamaica, 30 in Haiti. In Cuba, no deaths have been reported, but there has been significant damage. And now Melissa is over the Atlantic and headed north. The remnants of the storm could be felt across Newfoundland's Avalon Peninsula as early as tonight. The fragile Gaza ceasefire is moving forward today despite renewed violence. Palestinian militants have handed over the remains of 2 more hostages who were taken during the October 7th attack. In return, Israel has handed over the bodies of 30 Palestinians to authorities in Gaza. However, the ceasefire remains fragile. Israeli strikes in southern Gaza overnight injured at least 40 people. In a matter of hours, the Blue Jays will attempt to win it all. Game 6 of the World Series goes tonight in Toronto. The Jays need just one more win for their first series win in 32 years. The CBC's Thomas Douglas sets the scene for the biggest night in Toronto sports in decades.
With a Blue Jays win tonight on Halloween, celebrations would be sure to spill out into the streets of downtown Toronto.
We're going to do it! Blue Jays all the way!
The Jays have done away with any perception the team is competing as underdogs against the Dodgers, returning home with a 3-2 series lead.
Game 6 and a 6? Heck yeah!
As for the fans, they always believed.
I still think it'll go 7, but I think the Jays will pull it off. The run that would win the World Series.
The last time a World Series Game 6 was played in Toronto, this happened.
A swing and a belt, left field, way back, Blue Jays win it!
Joe Carter's famous 3-run walk-off homer in 1993, handing the Jays their second straight title. Tonight, manager John Schneider is sending in veteran pitcher Kevin Gausman to silence LA's bats.
Kev will be ready to go. I can't wait to see what the Rogers Center is going to look, feel, and sound like.
Let's go Jays! Let's go Blue Jays!
For a team that finished last place last season, it's a date with history, a chance to thrill baseball fans in every corner of Canada. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Seems like a bit more of a trick than a treat. Shrinkflation is taking a bite out of candy bars this Halloween. Some big candy makers are selling smaller packages this year, and consumer advocates say quietly shrinking a product without alerting consumers is unfair. Sophia Harris reports.
There's been an inflationary pressure on cocoa prices.
And that may mean some frightening prices this Halloween for chocolate treats. Food marketing expert Jordan Labelle says extreme weather conditions in West Africa, cocoa's main global supplier, are largely to blame.
The harvest has been hit and miss for the last little while.
Prices for confectionery items, which include chocolate, increased 10% over the past year, according to Statistics Canada. And if you don't get hit with higher prices, you may still wind up paying more due to shrinkflation. That's when companies quietly reduce the weight of a product, but not the price, making it hard to detect.
To the naked eye, you don't necessarily pick it up.
CBC News dug up online ads for Halloween candy from October 2024 and discovered that this year, two major companies, Mars and Hershey's, reduced the weight of several Halloween chocolate bar variety packs. Both companies said their products may change due to changing customer preferences. Neither provided specific examples.
The problem with shrinkflation or downsizing is that it's not really transparent.
Consumer advocates like Sylvie de Belleville say companies need to be more upfront when they shrink a product, regardless of the reasons why. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
And with that, we've reached the end of our newscast. Wherever you're celebrating, we wish you a safe and spooky Halloween night. But this year, you might find the kids are on a bit of a tight schedule, with anxious baseball fan parents keen to get home in time for that first pitch.
It's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, you see us like that almost stops your heart.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
You start to freeze, and so it looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed.
Well, good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team on CBC's Information Radio. It's your morning show. Thanks for being with us today. Halloween in this city of Winnipeg looking pretty good. Be a little chilly, high of 5. Abby's going to talk about the rain that could be coming, just some light showers possible. This hour on the program, we're going to be talking about Ukrainian newcomers, but from the perspective of entrepreneurs who have put down roots in Manitoba's business community. So we'll find out what that means in this province. Also coming up, from the World Series to next year's FIFA World Cup. Canada's looking to capitalize on big events and even bigger tourism dollars. We'll have a look at that. And yeah, we're going to tee up the big game tonight as we all get ready to see if the Blue Jays can get it done. This is Information Radio headlines in a moment. Heather, I think I look all cool because I've got this Blue Jays mug I'm drinking coffee out of, and so I've got it on the YouTube stream. But the truth is, I just stole it off Bruce Layden's desk, who is a tech and sometimes host of the weekend show here at CBC.
And he's all Blue Jays, so yeah, he's got the stuff.
So I promise I'll wash it later, Bruce. I just really wanted to rep on camera something about the game tonight. All right, you're here with other headlines. What are you working on?
Well, the Manitoba Human Rights Commission says the province needs to do more to make sure every child can learn to read.
I always asked my teacher, can you help me? But she said that I could probably do it on my own.
10-year-old Jacob Dick is in grade 5, diagnosed with dyslexia. In a new report, the commission says students like Jacob with learning disabilities face barriers to literacy because of the education system. We'll hear more about that. And if it seems like you're spending more to celebrate Halloween, you're right. Sandeep Arora at the University of Manitoba's Asper School of Business says retailers are cashing in on a trend where Halloween isn't just a holiday for kids anymore. That story coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, we want calls today, and I know it's early, and I know that sometimes, you're later in the day thinking about those Halloween costumes, but maybe you've planned a really great one, or maybe you're getting dressed up to go to school, or you're dressing up a little one. So we'd love to hear from you, and to take the pressure off you and your skills, what's the best Halloween costume you ever saw? So it doesn't have to be one that you're preparing, but maybe you've been out and about and you always remember that one costume. Always love to hear about those. Call the listener line this Halloween Friday, 788-3205, 788-3205. There is smiling Adiemi over there. How you doing?
Good morning, Marcy. If I would pick a costume, I would want to be the hand in Adam's Family.
Just the hand? Do you know what? We all really, really, really wanted Abby to be Vladdy today.
True.
I don't think you look so much like Vladimir Guerrero, except your vibe is kind of the same.
I will take the Vladdy vibes.
Yeah. I mean, also, I know you've talked on the air before, so you've shared this. I don't mind sharing it then, that, you're a religious man. He is as well. I understand he writes Dios in the sand every time he goes to bat. That's what he's writing, Vladdy. Mm-hmm. So I thought you could be a perfect for Halloween. We should have got you a Jays uniform.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And lots of diamonds, Abby.
But there's something, there's a J somewhere in the future, baby Jesus.
If you're a regular listener, you know what that joke's about. If you're not, we'll tell you sometime near Christmas. All right, the weather today for Halloween, what do we got?
It's starting cool and mostly cloudy Halloween across the province today. We're looking at gray and brisk day overall. It's going to be damp in some areas and cool in the southern regions. We're going to see cloudy conditions up north. We do have light rain in Dauphin at this time and light snow falling in Churchill. So it's a mixed bag for most corners of the province this morning. Also spotted some fog patches on my way in this morning. A few flurries still lingering in some areas. Winnipeg right now, 2 degrees. It's cloudy outside. Just a slight chance of showers this afternoon, Marcy, just to tease things up for the kids. We warm up to about 5 degrees, which will be really pretty. At least you don't have to give them winter jackets today, so the costumes will keep them warm. Across board, we're seeing 4 degrees from Brandon towards Dauphin, where we have that light rain, and into the Interlake region. While up north, it's more like cool temperatures. We're looking at -2s and 0s up there, and highs near 2 degrees. Though Churchill seeing light snow at this time and some windy conditions. But Winnipeg, it's 2 degrees. It's cloudy outside. Just a slight chance of showers in the city.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, what do you know?
Pretty quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues yet, but if you see any spooky potholes coming to eat your tires or anything like that, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
if you're watching on YouTube this morning, well played, Darren Marash. We've got the CBC gem, which is orange. You can imagine the round gem, and it's actually now looking like a jack-o'-lantern. There's a little face in the middle of it. Well, let's talk about Ukrainian newcomers, but not from the perspective of coming here, but what they're doing here. They have escaped war, but now they're building businesses. Thousands of people have arrived in Manitoba since Russia's mass invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. CBC's Alana Cole looked at how some are investing in their future here in our province.
I like natural fabric.
We're inside Olha Zolatkova's new showroom in Winnipeg's Exchange District. Her business, a boutique specializing in plus-size clothing for women.
I decided we open small space, cozy space, for connect with women and enjoy fashion.
But this wasn't always part of her plan. Zolatkova landed in Manitoba in 2022, just months after Russia's full-scale attack on Ukraine. Her background is in education, but she didn't speak English then. Now she's working as an educational assistant and building this business.
I'm so excited, a little bit worried about that, but I'm happy because now we have freedom, we have chance start something new.
The province says it's welcomed nearly 30,000 Ukrainians since the start of the war. More than 27,000 health cards were issued. We couldn't find anyone officially tracking how many people have started businesses here. But one company tells us Zolatkova isn't alone. Vitaly Lebezun, vice president of Workington Business Solutions, Inc., has 4 people on staff who've arrived from Ukraine since the war started. He's originally from there, but moved here more than 20 years ago. He helps clients with questions around launching a business, taxes, and payroll. And he's seen a steady stream of people looking to get started.
There's a lot of people who came and they had their own businesses, and that's why they want to start here again. And there is a lot of people who maybe did not have businesses but always wanted to, and they're going to start.
Yulia Okrimenko and her son made the journey from Ukraine to Winnipeg in 2022. Her husband Serhiy arrived more than a year later. Now, the couple is about to celebrate the first anniversary of Kolo, their Ukrainian gift shop. Almost everything they sell is made by others who left because of war.
I just remember that time. It was hard. And the main goal, we want to help these people, for sure. And if we can help for 50 people, that's good.
For them, this isn't just business, it's community.
Our people are pretty strong, but all of them need to be feeling this support. And that's we try to combine together, you're not alone, we are all together.
Yulia says they're settled here and want to stay.
Already have home here, but I still remember my home there. And when I repeatedly reminded my mind about everything about Ukraine, I start crying because it's like you between 2 countries.
For Olha Zolatkova, there's no easy answer.
Maybe one day when war finish, we visit Ukraine. I don't know. It's so difficult question for right now because, situation in Ukraine worse and worse each day, and I don't know what happened next.
For now, growing her business is part of making Manitoba home. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
North of North is in fashion, literally. CBC and the WAG are partnering to present Crafted on the Catwalk November 4th, a fashion show featuring cast members of the breakout comedy displaying designer clothes from Manitoba and the North. Then shop for fine handmade goods at Crafted Show and Sale November 7th to 9th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more, including an exclusive North of North screening and meet and greet.
Time right now is 6:20 a.m. on your Friday morning, last day of October, Halloween today. As we've been mentioning, high of 5, chance of showers today, 30% chance. And then tonight, mainly cloudy, and that 30% chance of showers carries over. In case you're curious about the weekend, on Saturday, mix of sun and cloud tomorrow in Winnipeg, and your high is going to be 6. Or I should say our high is going to be 6. I live here too. All right, let's get into what's happening on our next on the show, and it has to do with tourism. Summer 2025 was booming for tourism all across Canada, according to new figures from Destination Canada. The sector brought in record-breaking revenues between May and August, and while there were plenty of international travelers in the mix, a lot of the money came from Canadians exploring our own backyard. To talk about that, Wayne Smith is with us, director of Toronto Metropolitan University's Institute for Hospitality and Tourism Research. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So I understand marketing is a big piece of this, that, people sort of stepped up and thought, okay, let's sell our province. Tell me a little bit about how we market ourselves, Canada, for tourists, and why it seems to be working.
Well, this year we kind of had a cauldron of perfect ingredients kind of come together for a large domestic summer. There was a bit of a worry about Canadian economy due to all the trade stuff going on. So people tend to shift to, instead of taking big vacations internationally, take a bunch of shorter, 3 or 4 day weekends. You then added on to that the fact that a lot of people were nervous about going south of the border for various reasons. Once again, people are staying more domestically. Add to that, there's a Canadian national fervor about Canadian nationalism, wanting to know more about the country and Canadiana. And you put those three things together, and we had a really strong domestic tourism season.
What are the hotspots that we're seeing growing in popularity?
Well, some of the biggest hotspots and the biggest winners this year was Atlantic Canada, specifically Halifax, the northeastern United States, combined with Europe, add in a lot of people from Ontario and Quebec. You put that together, and it made for a really strong tourism season for Atlantic Canada, specifically Halifax.
Sports tourism can be a thing. Obviously, I got to talk about the World Series right now in Toronto. Can the city capitalize on that once the games are over?
Oh, definitely so. When people see the energy and excitement that's happening at the Rogers Centre, and you look at that and say, I want to be part of that. I want to feel that energy. And then you add in the fact that they pan around the audience and you see the diversity of Toronto. And if you think about going into next year's World Cup, there's a bunch of people who are looking at us and say, okay, I see this diversity. I see people being together, people having a good time regardless of where you're from. And all of a sudden, it makes for a really good, welcoming message for people to come to Toronto for the World Cup next year.
In terms of that's Toronto capitalizing on it, but what about the rest of the country? Are there things to think about if we want to keep the momentum going to sell Canada to tourists or to ourselves, right? It's not just out of Canada tourists, it's also interprovincial.
Well, I think the big thing is we have to be perceived as a value destination. So when people come, when they spend their money, that they're getting really good value for money. And what's really cool about Canada is there's very few places in the country where you can't go a couple hours east, west, north, or south and not find something that's really different or unique or special to see. And this is something that I think a lot of Canadians are now discovering. I can pop in the car, be a couple hours in the car, and all of a sudden I'm seeing something that's spectacular.
What's your favorite Canadian travel spot or experience while I have you?
A little place on the Bruce Peninsula called Nashingming, Ontario, which no one's ever heard of, but the Bruce Peninsula and the Niagara Escarpment surrounds it on 3 sides. So, and then Georgian Bay is on the other side. So this time of year, when you look up, I live in Toronto, and there's a ton of skyscrapers. It's kind of like looking at skyscrapers of fall colors. It's spectacular.
I love that. Thanks, Wayne, for touching the story this morning with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
That's Wayne Smith. He's the director of the Toronto Metropolitan University's Institute for Hospitality and Tourism Research. So I just want to mention here, we have a podcast that we do every week. It's called This is Manitoba. And why am I talking about it? Because this summer we actually did a whole episode in July, which could be relevant year round, but it was all about growing tourism in Manitoba. So basically it's a 30-minute interview looking at all things tourism in Manitoba. One of the interesting things I found out of that is the way that this province is capitalizing on and growing in destinations for specifically Indigenous tourism. So a whole bunch of new businesses, and there's lodges, and there's wilderness experiences, and there's a guide that's put out just for those, in addition to the Tourism Manitoba guide that you might have seen before, and guides that are specific to regions of the province. So there's lots to explore. If you head down to the Forks into their office there, you can check out what's going on, and you can also pick up a lot of those guides. They're free to just check out if you're making some plans. It is 6:25 a.m. Friday morning, and a bit of music next before we head into our 6:30 newscast. This one's from Jason Purcell, whose writing evokes a lot of emotion. So let's have a listen. This tune is kind of just in time for Halloween because the vocals kind of are a little bit haunting audibly. This is called Can You Hear Me Now?
It feels like I've been screaming. I've lost you on the line, and it's the touch that I've been needing. Your name forms in my mouth. I wanna forget how to say it before I spit it out. I'd say how I would die to see your face again, but you are gone for good, my friend, and I safe. Stories we always do. Crowded rooms, and all my friends are strangers now. Drop my call, block my number, turn your back, know me from somewhere.
Kind of cool, huh? To me, that's Leonard Cohen meets Phantom of the Opera meets Miami Vice kind of in the middle there, right? That's Jason Purcell, all him. Can you hear me now? Local artist here on CBC. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Does sound perfect for Halloween. Very haunting. Loved his low tones. We have business news coming up here. Hallie Cottonham's going to join us today. While most Canadians were asleep, an important meeting was happening more than 8,000 kilometers away. You may have been hearing a bit on World Report about the Prime Minister of Canada and his meeting with the Chinese president. But for those who are just waking up, we'll have a full rundown through a business lens coming up with Hallie Cottonham after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 2 degrees. Nothing really spooky about Halloween's forecast for Winnipeg today. Mostly cloudy, slight chance of a shower. We did have some overnight. And a high today of 5. Manitoba's Human Rights Commission finds some students are barred from their right to read because of inequities in the education system. A new report shows students with learning disabilities often go undiagnosed, meaning they never get the support they need to help them read. Natalie Rediger has 2 children diagnosed with dyslexia.
My son was telling me part of him feels very angry that he didn't get the support he needed, but hopeful that hopefully other kids won't have to go through what he went through. So mixed emotions.
The Commission recommends early screenings for learning disabilities across Manitoba, as well as recognizing systemic issues marginalized students face. A Ukrainian couple who fled the Russian invasion is getting ready to mark the first anniversary of their Ukrainian gift store. Yulia Okhrimenko and her husband run Kolo Shop in East Kildonan. Almost everything they sell is made by people who also left Ukraine because of the war. And for them, this isn't just business, it's about community.
I just remember that time. It was hard. And the main goal, we want to help these people, for sure. And if we can help for 50 people, that's good.
The province says Manitoba welcomed nearly 30,000 Ukrainians since Russia's mass invasion of Ukraine. But a provincial spokesman says the government hasn't tracked how many of those people have started businesses here. A veteran from Lake Manitoba First Nation hopes the military is committed to building a better working relationship with his people. Retired Corporal Melvin Swan won a human rights case against the Canadian Forces in 1994, but didn't get a formal apology until yesterday at a ceremony in Ottawa. Chief of Defense Staff General Jenny Carnigan apologized for racial discrimination and harassment current and past members faced while serving their country. Swan hopes military leaders' actions will now speak louder than their words.
I don't know how far the apologies are supposed to go. I mean, for me, the way I see it, it's got to have some power behind it. It has to have some guarantees for the good of the nation and the country.
Carignan says the forces have committed to eliminating systemic barriers, addressing biases at every level, and integrating awareness of systemic racism into recruitment and training. Winnipeg City Council has given the green light to extending on-request bus service in residential areas later at night. Right now, on-request bus service operates until 10:15 at night. That prompted complaints from riders, including night shift workers trying to get home. Now, starting in December, buses will operate until 2 in the morning on 10 of Transit's 12 on-request zones. Mayor Scott Gillingham says some tweaks have been made to the transit network since it was overhauled this summer.
One of the matters we heard from the public the most on, and from councillors, was that people needed that late night service into their residential area. And so that's something immediately we've all been working to address.
Gillingham says he is glad transit is finding ways to accommodate the need for later buses. Well, for the first time in 8 years, a Prime Minister of Canada has met with the President of China. Mark Carney met today with Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea. It's part of an ongoing attempt to renew the Canada-China relationship, which has been strained over the years by tariffs, election interference, and the detainment of 2 Canadians.
And I welcome the momentum that has been established in recent months, meetings of our officials, meetings of ministers, and the meeting that I was able to have with Premier Lee in New York.
Today's conversation lasted about half an hour, with Xi inviting Carney to Beijing. It is an invitation Carney has accepted. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Happy Halloween! And if it seems like you're spending more on Halloween this year, you're right. Sandeep Arora at the University of Manitoba's Asper School of Business says despite rising prices, people seem not to mind spending a little extra on candy, costumes, and decorations. He thinks one reason is because Halloween bridges religious and cultural boundaries.
It's something that can be celebrated widely among a very diverse population like that we have in Canada. It's very secular in nature and very playful in nature.
Well, unlike holidays where people stay home to celebrate with their family, Aurora says trick-or-treating is a collective ritual that fosters neighborhood involvement and a sense of community. And the community was out last night for this.
Connor roofs it. He scores! Magic from Connor!
Kyle Connor in the third period on TSN as the Winnipeg Jets doubled the Chicago Blackhawks 6-3 the final. It was the first time Jonathan Toews faced his old team, and coach Scott Arniel says it was a close to perfect performance.
That was a real good game. I thought that, there's little things that happen over the course of a game. I don't know if there ever is a perfect 60, but that was one of our best of the year.
Next up, Winnipeg, Saturday afternoon, hosting the Penguins. You can find more news updated throughout your day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Good start for the Jets, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into the regional forecast now on CBC with Mr. Abi Adiyami.
Yeah, some parts of Winnipeg didn't see the light rain overnight, but some areas spotted light showers, and those showers should be tapering off this morning. We still have light rain in the Dauphin area at this time, but that rain should fade away, and then we'll see cooler air. Plenty of cloud cover in most of the areas this morning. Light flurries spotted up north. Winnipeg right now, 2 degrees, mostly cloudy. We do have a very slim chance of showers this morning, and that would give way to cloudy skies with north winds. We warm up to about 5 degrees. That will take us into trick-or-treat period, and then some foggy conditions to set the scene for later tonight. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region. 4 degrees there, warming up to 5. Showers also tapering off this morning. Brandon towards Nipawin, we're looking at 4 degrees there, cloudy there. Showers or flurries may come your way, and that should fade, and you see highs around 4. For the Parkland region, we have light rain this morning, 3 degrees. That should taper off, and you see your highs just stay around 3 degrees for most of the day. In the Interlake region, Gimli and surrounding communities, we're spotting 5 degrees there, mainly cloudy with a slim chance of showers in the forecast, also warming up to 5 degrees, and a mix of sun and clouds on the way for tomorrow. Now, we track conditions into the powerful influence surrounding communities all the way towards Gillam this morning. We're looking at between zeros and -2 for that, zeros and -2 for that region, partly cloudy with a slim chance of showers, and some flurries might come with that. You warm up to about 2 degrees in that part of the province. Thompson, you are at -1, mostly cloudy there. A slim chance of showers on the way this morning. Some flurries may also come your way. Highs will be near 0. Fort Churchill, we're looking at -2 with light snow, northwest winds, northwest winds rather, and that would ease, and then we'll see a temperature just come to about -1 later. So overall, Mercy, it's cool and mostly cloudy, and a few showers and a few flurries spotted here and there. But Winnipeg, we are at 2, and it's cloudy now.
All right, Corey.
Very quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues yet, but if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you see something going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. I'll let folks know what you're seeing. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, I'm now prompted on Facebook to hear about the best costume you ever saw in your life. You can call us 788-3205 to weigh in. Hallie Cotnam is with us with our business news. Happy Halloween. Good morning.
Good morning. Go Jays.
Right? All those things today. And I guess also, while most of us were asleep, we should talk about what happened with the Prime Minister who was meeting with the Chinese president. People may have heard a bit of this on World Report, but for those just waking up, what's the rundown of this?
Yeah, the two men met while both are attending the APEC summit in South Korea, both agreeing that this meeting marked a turning point. Xi Jinping invited Mark Carney to visit China. As you heard in Heather's newscast, Carney accepted, saying that distance is not the way to solve problems.
Because it's through this constructive and pragmatic dialogue that we will address a path for current issues, that we will establish a road to seize the many great opportunities between our countries, and also to have...
So, Marcy, now the work shifts to the back rooms, both leaders directing their officials to work to resolve outstanding trade issues. Now, here's the rub. Carney facing lots of pressure from Premier Scott Moe and Rob Kinu to drop the 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs. China says it wants that gone before it removes its counter tariffs on canola, but also seafood and pork. And it's quite a changing of the guard here. Just 3 years ago, Canada described China as a disruptive global power. Our relations were tense after the whole Meng Wanzhou and the Two Michaels affair. Now we're calling China a strategic partner in a turbulent world.
Let's go to another story. Earlier this week, we heard that about the deal between Cenovus with an MEG Energy. Pardon me, I don't know if I'm supposed to say MEG, with support from Strathcona Resources. Let's lose the names of all the companies. So we heard this was all but assured, this deal, but maybe not.
No, a new twist. The MEG shareholder vote on that proposed takeover by Cenovus was supposed to take place yesterday. It's been delayed again. So the shareholder meeting yesterday kept on being paused while the MEG board chair wrestled with, quote, regulatory inquiries. Finally, it's been adjourned until November 6th. This has been an ongoing story, Marcy. I thought I had come to the end of this story earlier this week. It's been really bitter. It's sort of a David and Goliath story set in the oil sands, pitting the giant Cenovus against its smaller rival, Strathcona Resources. Last month, Strathcona backed off. And just this Monday, it seemed the battle had been won. Strathcona pledged to vote its 14% stake in MEG in favor of Cenovus's latest and sweetened offer. But part of that sweetened offer was an agreement to sell some properties in Saskatchewan and Alberta to Strathcona. And it's that side deal that's at the heart of the regulatory inquiries that derailed yesterday's meeting. So more to come.
Finally, you have a story about a robot taking over the world.
Well, maybe your kitchen, Marcy. A robotics company in California is taking pre-orders for what it says is the world's first consumer-ready humanoid robot. It's called Neo.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Not alive, but it can put dishes in the dishwasher, fold laundry, wipe counters, water plants. It's not free, though. It costs $20,000. Or for the low, low price of $499 a month, you can rent it with a 6-month commitment. Now, some people might be thinking, is this good? Do I want a robot in the heart of my home? I mean, what could go wrong?
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
But Neo is no Hal. It looks vaguely human, 5'6", 2 eyes, a soft body, seemingly covered in what appears to me to be a sort of a beige sweater material. It can last up to 4 hours on a single charge, but it's still learning. So if you want it to do something like clean the bathroom or vacuum, you have to let an employee access Neo's systems off-site wearing a virtual reality headset to assist with its AI learning or training. And I watched a video of it attempting to load 3 items into a dishwasher, Marcy. It took 4 minutes. Couldn't seem to figure out that you can't stand in front of a dishwasher and open it if you're too close to it. It's all giving very teenagery vibes to me.
Come on, they do better than that.
You're right. You're right.
I'm thinking Jetsons, man. Like, I don't know, growing up with watching the robot doing all the house cleaning and thinking, oh, as if, and then here we are. Here we are, Hallie. Okay, have a great night. Enjoy the Jays game, Halloween, all that jazz, and we'll talk to you next week.
To you as well. Speak to you next week.
Yeah, that's Hallie Cottenham. A regular on our show, of course, joins us with business news each and every morning here on CBC. 6:43 a.m. on CBC right now, and 2 degrees in Winnipeg, partly cloudy, 4 in Brandon, and cloudy. I just want to mention Dauphin. Why? Because it's raining there. It's the only Well, it's not the only part now. It's raining in Dauphin, and now it's also started raining in Island Lake, actually. And up in Churchill, there's a light snow shower this morning. So that's your current sky conditions. Well, Halloween, of course, is a time for the imagination to run wild with the thoughts of ghouls and goblins that haunt the night. It's all make-believe, of course, except there are a lot of people who do believe in ghosts. CBC's Blair Sanderson hit the street to ask people if they've ever experienced a visitor from beyond the grave.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
Yes. Absolutely.
No, I do not believe in ghosts.
I have one that used to live in my house. It was a nurse from World War II.
Really?
Yeah. She would, whenever I had somebody stay in the back room of the house, she would pull down their sheets, and everybody said, "Did you come in last night and pull down my sheets?" I'm like, "Why would I do that?" And so I've had multiple people tell me that.
Well, I thought I saw a ghost once. Well, it was after my mom died, and I saw her in the basement. She'd never been to the basement of my house, but there she was. And my boyfriend at the time saw her too.
Yeah, I think there's something to when your loved ones pass away, you still have a connection with them. My Uncle Larry's always hanging out. He shows up once in a while and spooks people. So anything weird that happens in our family, we've blamed it on Larry for decades now. We're like, oh, that's Larry. Classic Larry.
I've been at a cousin of mine's house, and we've had a lot of weird stuff happen. Doors slamming, salt shakers falling off of tables, attics being left open that haven't been opened for years and painted over that were sealed.
What was your reaction to those experiences? Were you afraid? What happened?
Man, of course I was afraid. I got up out of there.
It's a fun thing. People like having a imagination about things. There's certainly lots out there, TV shows, whatnot, convincing you that ghosts might be real or certainly are real. But I've not been convinced to their existence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People find belief in ghosts to be exciting. The paranormal is like a hobby for some people. It makes their lives more exciting.
Kind of. I want to believe, you know.
What, you want to believe?
Well, I've never actually seen one, but the whole concept's pretty cool, and you know.
What makes you want to live in a world where there are ghosts? Just because they're cool?
Pretty much, you know. I think if I were a ghost, I think it'd be a lot of fun to go around and spook people out, you know.
What would you do if you were a ghost?
I don't know, knock some books off a shelf or something, you know. Nothing, I wouldn't want to hurt anyone, but, you know, I'd have fun with that.
I feel like if I were a ghost and I was able to do whatever I want, I'd probably travel the world and haunt other people in other places.
Or just lay on a beach somewhere?
Yeah, for sure. Catch a ghoul tan.
I had a house ghost once, and me and my roommates used to talk to her through our candle. We would ask her questions, and if the candle would blow, she was saying yes, is what we determined.
Really?
And if we had parties in the house, things in the house would go missing because she would get mad.
Is it possible that it was just the people that you invited to your party that were stealing things?
No, they were all our friends. They wouldn't steal things.
Well, thank you for sharing this with me.
No problem.
You just dropped your phone.
Yeah, I did.
Was that the ghost there, maybe?
No, I think that was just me.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Have a nice day.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Who doesn't like a good ghost story? By the way, there was a study published by researchers at the University of British Columbia, and at least for its part, it found nearly half of Canadians believe in at least one type of paranormal activity, including ghosts. Well, my favorite part is the stories, of course, like some of those that we heard just there. But Abby, you told me a story off air that I think is creepy deepy, and it's Halloween, so tell the listeners this story.
Very creepy. If you grew up in Nigeria and you're making transit from one town to another, there's always like this long stretch of road that you don't see houses left to right. However, in between this long stretch, you'd always find like just little restaurants here and there, not like gas stations, just a rest place. And this family was traveling at some point, and they were transitioning from the southern part to the northern part of the country, and they noticed this restaurant that they've always heard about. They turned off the road. They had good servings, and they're like, oh, we're just going to take some takeouts home to the people we're visiting. And when they got there, those guys were like, where did you get this? Like, that restaurant has not existed for over 50 years. It's been gone for 50 years. And they were like arguing, we had bushmeats there, we had great drinks there. And we're like, no. So they had to we're just going to make that 3-hour trip back to that location and confirm ourselves. And when they got there, they found just this abandoned parcel of land that had the building is abandoned and everything. And there was nothing there. But this was a restaurant that had lots of people. Yeah, mercy, and they had a meal there. And
that's my sound effect for no.
I still have chills about that till date.
You know what that story for me? They had the takeout containers, right?
Yeah, they had the takeout containers,
right?
And the people back home were like, this place has been over 50 years. It closed down.
Chills, right? What a story. Can you top that, listeners? I know we're asking about costumes, but man, if you've got a good story. We did this as a call-in actually on Radio Noon this week. Thank you, Abby, for sharing. We did this as a call-in on Radio Noon this week, and a lot of you had some pretty good ghosty stories. So if you want to share one this morning, in addition to telling us about Halloween costumes and such, listener line is always open.
The Great Canadian Baking Show is back.
Hello, beautiful bakers, and welcome to the tent.
10 contestants.
On your marks. Get set, bake.
All hoping for the sweet smell of success.
I am at the stage of panic. Just got to say a little prayer.
I'm in heaven.
Wow. I haven't even tasted it, and I'm happy.
I forgot to put in the eggs.
Is anyone else uncontrollably shaking right now?
It's a new season of the Great Canadian Baking Show. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Well, it is 10-7 right now on 89.3, and Toronto Blue Jays fans are hoping to party like it's 1993 tonight. That is the year that the team last won the World Series, and they're one win away from clinching their third World Series title in franchise history, the first, as we mentioned, in 32 years. So how'd they get into this series?
This is what it's all about. A strike away for Jeff Hoffman and the Toronto Blue Jays. The payoff. And for the first time in 32 years, the Blue Jays have won the pennant.
That is the final play of the ALCS, taking the Blue Jays into the World Series. Will they make it out tonight with the win? What a special day it is in Canada. We have a chance to do this on home soil. The Jays do in front of the fans. This historic playoff has galvanized people all across our country. And we can only imagine what that win tonight or tomorrow, if they get it done, they have two chances here, would mean. So let's talk about it. If you haven't been caught up on the bandwagon, we're going to plug you into all the excitement and explain why some of your colleagues are wearing blue today. Ed Kleiman is with us. He joins us from Toronto this morning, freelance sports reporter. Hey there, Ed.
Good morning.
So obviously when the World Series started, a lot of baseball pundits didn't even give the Jays a chance to win it all. They're now one win away from a World Series title. For those that haven't been following every crack of the bat, which I have, by the way, how have they silenced the doubters? Because I would argue that after game one of this series, even though they spanked the Dodgers, people still were feeling like they were, that this couldn't happen.
Yeah. And that's been the story right from the start. I mean, this team, I think, has been completely underestimated, and actually with good reason. When you're talking about a team that was in last place last year, that had a dreadful April, that was still struggling in May, was under 500 in late May. But once they got going, they really got going, and they took over the division. And late in the season, the Yankees were coming on hard. The Jays were expected to tumble and become a wild card team. They won 4 in a row to close out the season and protected that division title. Well, what did they do next round against the Yankees when they were expected to lose to the mighty Yankees? They absolutely spanked the Yankees. And then against Seattle, when talk about being battle tested, down 3-1 in the 7th inning of a deciding game, and George Springer steps up and hits a 3-run homer to keep it going. You start thinking team of destiny. And what happens when you face the Dodgers? Absolutely deserving to be the favorites, defending champions, the juggernaut of baseball. And as you said, huge win in game one, but they even did in game two. And how about to make it even tougher, losing an 18-inning gut wrencher? What did they do the next 2 games? They absolutely dominated the Dodgers. So at this point, the Blue Jays are actually from the odds makers, for the first time, they're an overwhelming favorite now to win the World Series.
People have to understand, too, the Dodgers, I mean, as you said, won last year, and the Dodgers are obviously, if you even watch these games, people, you see these big, huge Dodgers, and then the Jays almost look like, I don't know, they almost sort of look like these, people are calling them kind of the scrappy blue-collar team. But, but let's make no mistake, they all hit. They all play together. They run like they're like it's the last, run their, base they're ever going to get in their lives. They work so hard. And let's mention Shohei Ohtani. So Shohei Ohtani is like the greatest player of all time already. He pitches. He hits home runs like they're going out of style. He's amazing. And how have the Jays managed just him this time around, do you think?
Yeah, I think this has been one of the key storylines of the series. In the first game, he hit a home run, but that was a Blue Jay blowout. It was kind of meaningless at the end of the game. Kept him to one hit in the second game. And then in game 3, in that 18-inning classic, he had a game for the ages. First 4 plate appearances, 2 home runs, 2 doubles. That had not been done in the World Series since 1906. And manager John Schneider said, for the rest of the way, you're not beating us. And he just got intentional walk after intentional walk. Ended up being on base 9 times. That's 3 more than anyone else, any other World Series game ever. But I think that really fatigued him. He tired out. And when he pitched the next game, you could see he wasn't quite himself. And at the plate, that affected him too. So what have we seen in the last 2 games from Ohtani? 0 for 3, 0 for 4. The pressure on him tonight as the face of Major League Baseball, it's enormous. And the Blue Jays know it. And we're going to see what Ohtani is made of tonight.
I will ask you about the pitching tonight, but I just want to ask you about something in a USA Today article. It explored kind of an interesting take. It was exploring how a Jays winning a World Series, should that happen, could reshape baseball, they're saying. What's that about?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. First of all, you mentioned this team's togetherness and the scrappiness and the blue collar and the chemistry of this group. In this sport that's so money-driven and ego-driven and free agent signings here and there, that is standing out, and it is definitely a factor with this team. You hear all the players say it, all the coaches say it. You hear opposing players and coaches talk about this team that way. And the way they play the game in an era of go for the home run, don't worry about striking out, just do the big thing. Well, the Blue Jays are all about doing little things. Sure, they hit lots and lots of home runs, don't get me wrong there. But the way they put the ball in play, the way you can use different players in different positions.
Yeah.
The way they're so selfless. The way they play defense. It's throwback stuff. We're going back decades with the way this team plays. And fans everywhere, including in the U.S., really like that.
We got 30 seconds left. We got to talk about the pitching matchup. And actually, maybe we won't even talk about Gausman. He's been playing well. He's got to bring it tonight. Obviously, that's a Jays pitcher. This is still the Dodgers. This is not a done deal. Talk about who's on the mound tonight, too.
Yamamoto for the Dodgers, best pitcher in baseball right now. 2 straight complete games in the playoffs. Hasn't been done in 24 years. Retired the last 20 Blue Jays he faced in game 2. This is task number 1 for Toronto, somehow to get through and beat this Yamamoto guy. Otherwise, game 7, who knows what happens. Remember, this Dodgers team last year were supposed to lose to the San Diego Padres when they faced elimination. They came back and won the last 2 games of that series. So this series, it's not done yet.
All right, Ed, thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
That is Ed Kleiman, freelance sports reporter, talking about the game tonight. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells back here in Manitoba with our news headlines.
Good morning. Well, a veteran from Lake Manitoba First Nation hopes the military's actions will speak louder than its words. Retired Corporal Melvin Swan won a human rights case against the Canadian Forces back in 1994. He had to wait another 30 years to get a formal apology, and that came yesterday in Ottawa. We'll hear his reaction to it coming up. And if it seems like you're spending more to celebrate Halloween these days, you're right, but it's not just because you're spending more on candy and costumes. It's also have something to do with the kid in you, little nostalgia. We'll hear all about that as well in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Traffic's fine, but watch for the little ones today. They're going to start walking to school. Some of them will be in costumes as well. It's darker out there, right? Like we've had that shift. And just be careful. It's Halloween. 788-3093 if you do have anything else to pass along in traffic, though. Partly cloudy, 2 degrees in Winnipeg right now. 30% chance of showers today and a high of 5 degrees. Still ahead, speaking of watching out in traffic, a brother and sister are going to share their experience with impaired driving. We'll hear how a head-on collision in 1998 impacted their family for many years and why they're now sharing their story in Manitoba schools. So stay tuned. Also, where do all the pumpkins go after tonight? Compost Winnipeg says a lot of them still end up in landfills. So what is better to do? We'll find out. And then at 10 to 8 this morning, calls for bail reform have been echoing across the country, including coming from people like our mayor. But some law professors fear that many people might not understand what that would actually look like, and they have concerns about it. So we'll find out why, based on what the federal government has proposed. Stay tuned.
Today on The Current.
I'm Catherine Cullen. The Blue Jays might just wrap it all up tonight. As the World Series comes to a grand finale, we'll talk to a fan who flew back to Toronto for all the excitement and hear from the legendary Blue Jays broadcaster, Buck Martinez. That's coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Prime Minister Mark Carney is opening the door to a new, more constructive relationship with China. This morning at the APEC summit, Carney had a one-on-one meeting with President Xi Jinping. It's the first formal leader-to-leader contact between the two countries since 2017. The CBC's Murray Brewster has details.
This meeting today is long overdue.
Going into this high-stakes meeting, Mark Carney tried to temper expectations by saying this was a reset of relations with China, a first step, if you will. He was pleased with the result.
We now have a turning point in the relationship, a turning point that creates opportunities for Canadian families, for Canadian businesses.
At the outset, while the media was still in the room, President Xi Jinping spoke first, acknowledging the rift between Canada and China. He said Beijing wanted to push the relationship back onto a healthy, sustainable path. Relations between China and Canada have been strained, defined by almost a decade of mistrust and sporadic economic engagement. Carney was invited to visit China for further talks, and he says he'll go. The dialogue with Xi comes one day after the Chinese leader sat down with U.S. President Donald Trump, a meeting that dialed back the trade war between the two economic superpowers for the time being. Carney didn't say precisely what was accomplished with Xi, and if or when any of the costly sanctions on Chinese electric vehicles and Canadian canola would be lifted. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Gyeongju, South Korea.
The Angus Reid Institute is asking Canadians how they feel about the Ontario government's anti-tariff ad. The commercial angered U.S. President Donald Trump, and he responded by threatening to raise the tariffs on Canada again. According to the poll, about 43% of respondents believe that ad put Canada in a worse negotiating position, but only 13% said they were strongly against the Ontario government's decision to run the ad. On the other side of the equation, 31% strongly supported it. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, meanwhile, is doubling down this morning in the Washington Post. Ford has published an op-ed where he uses the Blue Jays World Series run to declare Canada, quote, a global heavyweight ready to stand up to U.S. tariffs. Ford insists the trade conflict has only strengthened Canadian unity. He stresses that Canada is an energy and mineral superpower and closes by urging the Blue Jays to bring home the title tonight. Well, that surging sense of Canadian unity will be on full display this evening, where it truly counts on the baseball diamond. In a matter of hours, the Blue Jays will attempt to win it all. Game 6 of the World Series goes tonight in Toronto. The Jays need just one more win for their first series win in 32 years. The CBC's Thomas Daigle sets the scene for the biggest night in Toronto sports in decades.
With a Blue Jays win tonight on Halloween, celebrations would be sure to spill out into the streets of downtown Toronto.
We're gonna do it! Blue Jays all the way!
The Jays have done away with any perception the team is competing as underdogs against the Dodgers, returning home with a 3-2 series lead.
Game 6 in the 6? Heck yeah!
As for the fans, they always believed.
I still think it'll go 7, but I think the Jays will pull it off.
The run that would win the World Series.
The last time a World Series Game 6 was played in Toronto, this happened.
A swing and a belt, left field, way back, Blue Jays win it!
Joe Carter's famous 3-run walk-off homer in 1993, handing the Jays their second straight title. Tonight, manager John Schneider is sending in veteran pitcher Kevin Gausman to silence LA's bats.
Kev will be ready to go. I can't wait to see what the Rogers Center is going to look, feel, and sound like.
Let's go, Jays! Let's go, Blue Jays!
For a team that finished last place last season, it's a date with history, a chance to thrill baseball fans in every corner of Canada. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
The murder crisis in Dawson Creek, BC is escalating. That small city has a murder rate 14 times the national average, fueled by the local drug trade. After the RCMP promised arrest in more than a dozen cold cases, 4 more people have been murdered this year. Mark Kelly returns to the fearful city to investigate why, despite police assurances, justice remains elusive.
An RCMP forensics team quietly carries a body bag from a modest bungalow in Dawson Creek. Another victim, another suspicious death, another grieving family. In the past 4 years, there have been 15 murders in this community of 12,500 people in northeastern BC. The RCMP has only made 1 arrest. 14 murders remain unsolved.
Why are so many people getting murdered in this small town?
Because the drugs are rampant.
Aaron Linklater says he's been dealing drugs in Dawson Creek for decades. But now, with so much money to be made during an oil and gas boom, violence is never far away.
They always call Dawson a gang war, and it cracks my ass right up.
Why?
It's because there's only one gang, and they love to shoot at each other.
Many feel speaking out about the violence can get you killed. With so many unsolved murders, local residents fear the people they believe are murderers are now walking free. RCMP Staff Sergeant Chris Clark.
Knowing and proving are 2 completely different things. We can say that we know this person did it, but we need to, and I think more importantly, prove that in a court of law and successfully prosecute that so that the families of the victims do get that justice.
But the families of the victims continue to wait for answers. But for now, the RCMP urges patience. Arguing justice takes time. Mark Kelly, CBC News, Dawson Creek.
Well, it's really more of a trick than a treat. Shrinkflation has taken a bite out of candy bars this Halloween, with big candy makers selling smaller packages this year. And consumer advocates say that quietly shrinking a product without alerting consumers is unfair. Sophia Harris reports.
There's been an inflationary pressure on cocoa prices.
And that may mean some frightening prices this Halloween for chocolate treats. Food marketing expert Jordan LaBelle says extreme weather conditions in West Africa, cocoa's main global supplier, are largely to blame.
The harvest has been hit and miss for the last little while.
Prices for confectionery items, which include chocolate, increased 10% over the past year, according to Statistics Canada. And if you don't get hit with higher prices, you may still wind up paying more due to shrinkflation. That's when companies quietly reduce the weight of a product, but not the price, making it hard to detect.
To the naked eye, you don't necessarily pick it up.
CBC News dug up online ads for Halloween candy from October 2024 and discovered that this year, 2 major companies, Mars and Hershey's, reduced the weight of several Halloween chocolate bar variety packs. Both companies said their products may change due to changing customer preferences. Neither provided specific examples.
The problem with shrinkflation or downsizing is that it's not really transparent.
Consumer advocates like Sylvie de Belleville say companies need to be more upfront when they shrink a product, regardless of the reasons why. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
Seeing the Rocky Horror Picture Show on the big screen, dressing up, singing the songs, throwing the toast. Well, it's a beloved Halloween tradition for some people. And the movie is celebrating a major milestone. It's been 50 years since it first hit the big screen. As Magda Gabriel-Celesta tells us, the film is still a cultural phenomenon.
Turning back the clock to 1975, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a box office bust, but soon to become a cult classic. The story starts with a starry-eyed couple whose car breaks down in a storm. Seeking help, they find a castle and fall into the hands of Dr. Frankenfurter, the mad scientist. 50 years later, the campy horror sci-fi musical that tapped into topics of gender and sexuality has a massive following.
It's all over the world.
Patricia Quinn played Magenta in the movie. She and some castmates have been touring across the U.S. and Canada, screening the film with audiences.
These glorious, beautiful theatres sold out. And then when one comes on the stage, people they don't clap. They stand up and scream.
At screenings, fans dress up as characters and sing along. But for many, it's more than entertainment.
You have this radical acceptance of queerness.
Shalita Cox in Victoria, BC, is in an all-drag Rocky Horror stage production.
It's beautiful, it's chosen family,
but with time, the film has faced criticism for outdated terms.
I'm just a sweet transvestite.
Cameron Crookston, a queer historian in BC, looks at it this way.
When you're studying psychology, you read Freud, but you also understand this is not a contemporary text. Rocky Horror is the Freud of queerness.
Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Let me show you a rhyme, maybe.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Want something visual that's not too abysmal? We could take in an old Steve Reeves.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio on Halloween. And also, hopefully it'll be no trick, and the Blue Jays will actually win tonight, which would be awesome. Got lots on our minds this morning. Thanks for joining us on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Halloween's not going to be bad for the trick-or-treaters. Abby, with your forecast in a moment. I know a lot of people thinking, okay, how much do we have to layer over the costume? This hour on this show, let's talk about where the pumpkins go. If you're still not composting, Compost Winnipeg wants to make it easier for you. So we're going to hear more about what they're doing this year for tomorrow, when that pumpkin is looking at you kind of sad. Also this hour, we're going to follow up on more discussions about bail reform in this country. Some have been talking about this being a great thing, but this hour some law professors fear that many people might not understand what this actually would look like, and they have concerns about bail reform and how it's been put forth by the federal government. So we're going to revisit some of the changes in case you missed the initial story, and then we'll talk to them at 10 to 8. Right now, as mentioned, we'll get to the weather in a moment, but Heather's here first with some headlines from Manitoba. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the Manitoba Human Rights Commission says the province needs to do more to make sure every child can learn to read.
I always asked my teacher, can you help me? But she said that I could probably do it on my own.
10-year-old Jacob Dick is in grade 5, diagnosed with dyslexia. In a new report, the commission says students who have learning disabilities like Jake face barriers to literacy because of the education system. We'll hear more about that. And some Ukrainians are making Manitoba home by building businesses. The province says Manitoba welcomed nearly 30,000 Ukrainians since the start of the war. However, the spokesperson says the province hasn't tracked how many of those people have started businesses here. We're going to hear from a couple coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
To the forecast, Abby, how much are the little goblins going to have to be wearing parkas?
Well, not much. We're just starting cool at 2 degrees. We warm up to 5 in the city. So the little ones are going to brave it tonight while heading out for trick-or-treating. Right now, Winnipeg, 2 degrees, cloudy outside. We just have a slim chance of showers in the forecast this morning. Then some north winds will come, making it just a bit brisk. We'll warm up to 5 degrees later. Through southern Manitoba, from the Pembina Valley region towards the Westman, Parkland, Interlake region, just a few cloudy conditions and a few showers in the forecast. We should see highs range from 5 to 3 and 5 degrees in most of these regions. While up north, chilly stat, we're looking at -2s and -1s up there, and Churchill is still seeing that light snow. But right now, Winnipeg, it's 2 degrees, mostly cloudy, just a few showers in the forecast, and it will be lovely for trick-or-treating later in the day.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
The commute. Corey, anything going on?
Quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues yet, but if you do see something, you give me a call on the CBC commuter line, 204-788-3093.
No, it's not the commuter line, but you do have a listener line to play.
Yes, we've been asking all morning, what's the best Halloween costume you've ever seen? And we got this one.
My name is Elizabeth. In response to the greatest Halloween costume I've ever seen, I would have to say it was when long after the Jets had left the city and they were on their return, and that winter, I saw someone with the costume of the ghost of the Atlanta Thrashers. It was awesome. It was a full-on zombie, the hockey player with a hockey stick going through him on big skates and everything. It was great.
I kind of like when people look at the news or something current to your community, like that would play well in Winnipeg at that time. You couldn't wear that this year, and people go, "What? I don't get it." Right?
Yeah, I don't think that would play this year. I bet you lots of people going as baseball players this year, though.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. The other thing is, if you have kids, who cares what you go as? They're just cute. Speaking of which, where are the pictures of your kids?
I'm still waiting because listen, this is the latest update. Last week, my little guy, he's 3. He didn't know whether he wanted to be a polar bear, a farmer, or a pickle. But then last night he threw us a curveball and says he wants to be a construction worker. Oh. So I'm actually waiting for updates from my wife because she's getting the kids dressed this morning.
You have no idea what he's going to choose.
It could be anything right now. So luckily we have costumes for all 4 ready to go. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be some combo of that. I've been advocating for that because that'd be ridiculous.
I heard
but we'll
pickles
see.
are awesome at paving like roadways.
They're hard workers. We do know that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see your kids. You can email pictures. You can call us, and you can tell us about the best costume you ever saw at 788-3205. Well, let's turn to more serious matters now on CBC. According to Manitoba Public Insurance, young Manitobans are 2.4 times more likely to be involved in a severe collision involving alcohol impairment than any other age group. That's why 20 schools across the province are hearing about experiences of those who have been affected by impaired driving. This is part of a Friends for Life speaker series from MPI. John Thiessen and Rosalie Finch are my next guests. They're siblings, and they are part of the series. They're sharing their story. John was in a head-on collision when his car was hit by an impaired driver in 1998. He suffered severe head trauma, which led to a 12-year recovery journey. Incredibly, today, look where he is. He's a physiotherapist. He specializes in treating people with head injuries. And how impactful would that be? Because he knows what it's like. And his sister was there during his entire recovery process. Thanks for coming in, Rosalie.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and John, nice to see you always.
Yeah, nice to see you, Marcy.
So what do you remember, John, about the day of the accident? Because this is part of what you're revisiting to, share with the students. What do you remember?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. What happened?
Well, we were coming home after watching Olympic hockey, Canada and Finland, bronze medal game. Canada lost 3-2. Yeah, this is because I'm told. I don't actually remember any of these things. We were coming home, and Frank and I were on the road. The 4-lane had switched to a 2-lane, and another driver who was coming home watching the same game, maybe at a bar at a friend's house, was trying to pass as many cars as he could before the 4-lane switched into a 2-lane. And I was going 70 going south. He was going 130, between 120 and 130, coming straight north.
And hit you guys head on.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's what I'm told. Again, I don't have any recall of that, but I've seen the car.
What kind of injuries did you suffer, and what was left of the car in the picture?
Not much. Yeah, they needed saws, shears, jaws of life, all of that. Frank, I took a bad head injury. My buddy Frank was the one who was hurt more physically. He was the one his leg had broken, and so he was actually bleeding every heartbeat. He was losing blood. Fortunately, crews were on the scene relatively quickly, and they pulled us apart or pulled the cars apart, and then got Frank and myself out and got us to hospital.
Rosalie, from your perspective, I can't even imagine. Was it a call that came, a knock at the door? How did you learn of this? What happened to John?
Yeah, I actually got a phone call, and it was frightening because John had been in the hospital for hours by himself. And so when we heard about it, we didn't know what kind of condition he was in. When we did see him in the hospital, we didn't recognize him. And that was equally terrifying, that he was so swollen up, he looked like an entirely different person.
When you think about John's recovery, how much was it, were you part of it? Like that being it's a long journey.
My entire family was by John's side, and we loved my brother so much. We, first of all, just wanted him to live. And then when we knew he was going to live, we wanted him to be able to be successful with this brain injury, Because we were told in the beginning that we would have to dress and feed my brother for the rest of his life, that he would never live a normal life.
John, how long, obviously you still will always live with impacts of this to a certain extent, but you say 12 years. When could you feed yourself again? Like, was it halfway through? You guys can help each other too. The timelines are probably hard to remember. But.
John probably doesn't remember a lot of that. We had a real miraculous recovery. So there was a time period where we did dress and feed John, and then he had to go to occupational therapy to learn how to cross the road properly, use a telephone, use his bank card, but his brain was strong, and so he recovered from those things pretty quickly. It was the other effects that he was suffering from, and a lot of it was a mental anguish and anxiety, his brain not resting.
Yeah. What's it like sharing this in schools, and what's the reaction you get from students?
The students have been great, honestly. The kids have been really attentive, very respectful, listening to Rosalie's bit and mine. It's a 40-minute presentation, and a big thanks to MPI for doing this, honestly. They're the ones who are kind of coordinating and doing all this. But she's there for 20 minutes. I'm there for 20 minutes. These sort of two different perspectives, and I'm watching the kids. I mean, they're engaged.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you hear from them, from your perspective too, Rosalie? Because you guys both, bring the story.
They're very impressed with John because the recovery that John has made, it's amazing. And they feel like what John is saying about the choices and then the resilience that you can have to do anything you want to in your life. Don't let anything like accident like this hold you back. And so the kids come and they say, we're so inspired. It feels like you're reading a book, and we just want to keep right to the end of the story. You could have heard a pin drop.
And that's the kids too, like the idea that they have choices. And I think kids nowadays, I think every generation says, it's harder for the kids growing up now, but now especially, there's so many distractions, and it's so hard for kids to decide, okay, what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? And just to give them kind of an insight into the fact that, okay, the way I made it through was through just some basic choices. And I'm very fortunate to have gotten this far. Again, 99.9% of people who went through what I went through are not where I am. I am the most unlikely person to survive and get to where I am. This is very unusual, and I consider this fortunate. Again, most of people like me are either in the ground or in Deer Lodge, and I'm working.
What's it like for you to be working with people who now have, head injury and other physical injury? And often it's that, invisible injury too, that's an extra layer of dealing with it. What's it like when your patients, your clients, people you work with realize, oh, you really get this? They must be so grateful to have you, John.
Well, they are. And it's a privilege for me to be able to meet people on that level. It is a privilege, and I don't take that lightly. Yeah. But I also think that it's something anyone can do. Like, just because I've been through this experience, the hardest thing I find, what I find from people is they just want someone to sit with them. Like, it doesn't matter what your injury is, whether you had a stroke, whether you've had a heart attack, it doesn't matter what it is. Most people, what they want is someone to sit with them in their pain.
Yeah. How worried are you, Rosalie, about, obviously you want to be part of this campaign to be impactful to the kids, to think about impaired driving, and they hear your story. What's your concern level like in 2025 when you think about, I always find it ebbs and flows. Lots of messages about impaired driving, then it kind of goes away. And then a reminder, hang on, we got to talk about this again. What are you most concerned about now?
Yeah, having experienced a family member in this kind of situation going through a drunk driving accident, it's something that's been on my mind for, 27 years. When I'm speaking to the kids, I look at them and I see these young, hopeful people. And I say to them, I really believe in you. You guys are the next generation. You're going to be the influencers. And I really believe that you guys are going to make the change. So as much as I worry about it, I really want to instill that these kids can do it, and they're not just, it's not like we're expecting them to do it, that we're really believing in them to make the change.
Every generation brings that new hope, right?
Yes, for sure.
Thank you both for coming in. Really nice to see both of you. And thank you for the speaker series. I know you have a number of schools you continue to go to. So nice to see you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, good. And thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. John Thiessen and Rosalie Finch, siblings, are part of MPI's Friends for Life speaker series. They are visiting Manitoba schools to share their experience about the impact of impaired driving.
If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
North of North is in fashion. Literally. CBC and the WAG are partnering to present Crafted on the Catwalk November 4th, a fashion show featuring cast members of the breakout comedy displaying designer clothes from Manitoba and the North. Then shop for fine handmade goods at Crafted Show and Sale November 7th to 9th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more, including an exclusive North of North screening and meet and greet.
7:25 a.m. is the time right now, and really nice to see John Thiessen doing so well. I can now share just for a moment, I worked at a radio station with John years ago, so I knew him very well, and right when this had happened. So really incredible to still see him here all these years later after that accident. It is 2 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. Our high today is 5 degrees, and everyone's thinking about tonight and the World Series Game 6. Claude Fague is in for Scott Reguer this morning. Scott's part of a special broadcast in Toronto this morning on Newsnet. Hey there, Claude. How you doing?
Good morning, Marcy. Doing great. Yeah, everybody's pretty excited here.
No kidding. So they're trying to complete the dream season in Toronto tonight. What's your tee up for the game?
Well, Marcy, here we are, exactly 32 years and 8 days since the Blue Jays franchise last won a World Series title. Now, the 2025 edition is on the cusp of finally doing it again, and doing it again in Toronto. The Jays lead the Los Angeles Dodgers 3-2, and like they did 32 years ago and even 33 years ago, are up 3-2 in the series and could win it in 6 games. So whether you're old enough to remember those great championships of the 1990s or weren't even born yet, fair to say that the city and its loyal fans, as well as the rest of the country, is ready to party like it's 1993. Now, Kevin Gausman, tonight's starting pitcher, can't wait to experience the atmosphere at Rogers Centre.
It's exciting. Rogers Centre is going to be fun. It's going to be electric. It's going to be everything that it has been for the last month and probably more. The fans there have been awesome. They bring the energy. They pick us up when we need it. I hope free agents can kind of open their eyes a little bit. I mean, if you're watching this series and you watch the games in Toronto, I mean, why wouldn't you want to play there?
Now, Gausman pitched well in his Game 2 start in Toronto at Rogers Centre, but ultimately, of course, took the loss.
Yep. Tonight I'm going to channel my inner 19-year-old. That's how old I was last time the Jays won the series.
I was a little older than you, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's nice to go back sometimes, isn't it?
All right, let's talk about the Bombers here. They have a tall task in their quest for another Grey Cup appearance.
Speaking of going back, right, it's not the usual place the Blue Bombers are accustomed to heading into the CFL playoffs. In fact, for the first time in team history, the Bombers are crossing over to the East Division for a playoff game as they face the Alouettes in Montreal. Now, of course, they played in the East for many seasons, but never as a crossover team. And since the inception of this crossover format in the CFL in 1996, every single team from the West has yet to win. They're 0-12 combined. Now, running back and Winnipeg native Brady Oliveira says he's hoping to change that trend.
For me, it doesn't matter if you're in the West or the East. This whole crossover thing is cool, though. Yeah, I've heard, no other team has made it out to a Grey Cup, so we're going to have to find, maybe some different ways to win games throughout this stretch of, going in the East and trying to make it back home. But I look forward to the challenge. I find that very intriguing and very motivating for us to be the first, so why not us?
And kickoff from Percival Stadium in Montreal is set for just after 1 p.m. local time tomorrow.
Well, we'll see how they do. They have extra motivation with the Grey Cup being here this year for sure. So
Absolutely.
let's go to our other team in Winnipeg. Jets got some
Yeah.
balanced scoring last night, and they beat the Blackhawks.
Indeed, the Jets, in fact, have strung together back-to-back wins and have hit the win column now in 3 of their past 4 games after beating the visiting Chicago Blackhawks 6-3 last night at Canada Life Center. Gabe Vilardi leading the Jets with a pair of goals and an assist, and 3 players, in fact, with 3 points. And head coach Scott Arniel was happy with the point distribution and Vilardi's night.
He was stressing pretty hard there about getting his first, and ever since, actually, it looks like he's skating 10 miles per hour faster. But that line was obviously outstanding. Those 3, the chemistry that they have, they all have kind of different things that they bring to the line, and Gabe knows what his sort of role is, and he's really starting to play it.
And obviously the Jets hope to keep that momentum rolling as they host the Pittsburgh Penguins tomorrow afternoon in a 2 p.m. Face-off local time.
I'll have to be flipping back and forth between the Bombers and the Jets tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Claude. Appreciate having you on.
All right. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too. That's Claude Fay, in for Scott Regehr with Morning Sports. If you want to see where Scott is, turn on Newsnet. It's part of a big special that they're having all day celebrating the Jays. We're coming up to news time right now here in Manitoba at 7:30. We'll get our next local cast. I want to mention in traffic, if you need us, 788-3093. Watch for the little ones. It is Halloween. Speaking of which, what's going to happen tomorrow with all those pumpkins? Tonight, they're going to line the streets and be on your steps. Think twice, though, before throwing them away tomorrow. Compost Winnipeg has some ideas for what you can do, including throwing it off a parkade. That's coming up after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's 2 degrees, and we're going to see a regular kind of a Halloween day. Mostly cloudy, slight chance of showers, but those kids shouldn't get too wet tonight, just a 30% possibility. A high today of 5. Overnight tonight, we slip down to -1. Making Manitoba home by building a business. Ola Zolokova arrived in Winnipeg with her daughter just months after Russia's mass invasion of Ukraine in 2022. She recently started Buy Zola, an online shop and appointment boutique in Winnipeg's Exchange, specializing in plus-size clothing for women.
I'm so excited, a little bit worried about that, but I'm happy because now we have freedom, we have chance start something new.
The province says Manitoba welcomed nearly 30,000 Ukrainians since the start of the war. It issued more than 27,000 health cards. But the spokesperson says the province hasn't tracked how many of those people have started businesses here. You can read more about this story on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba. The Manitoba Human Rights Commission says this province needs to do more to make sure every child can learn to read. In a new report, the commission says students with learning disabilities face barriers to literacy because of the education system. It recommends early screening for learning disabilities across Manitoba and proper resources. 10-year-old Jacob Dick is in grade 5 and has been diagnosed with dyslexia.
I always asked my teacher, can you help me? But she said that I could probably do it on my own. And I was sad about that because I needed help. And my old school, sometimes they helped me, but mostly they didn't. That's why we need to change this.
The report's findings are partially based on public consultations and experiences from students, parents, and educators. A veteran from Lake Manitoba First Nation hopes the military's actions will speak louder than its words. Retired Corporal Melvin Swan won a human rights case against the Canadian Forces in 1994. He had to wait another 30 years to get a formal apology. That came yesterday in Ottawa, where top brass apologized for racial discrimination and harassment current and past members faced while serving their country. Swan says what's important is what comes next.
This time they have to take the next step and mark some improvements in the way they treat my people.
Canada's Chief of Defence Staff says the forces have committed to eliminating systemic barriers, addressing biases at every level, and integrating awareness of systemic racism into recruitment and training. Winnipeg City Council has given the green light to extending on-request bus service in residential areas later at night. Right now, on-request bus service operates until 10:15 at night. That prompted complaints from riders, including night shift workers trying to get home. Now, starting in December, buses will operate until 2 in the morning on 10 of Transit's 12 on-request zones. Mayor Scott Gillingham says some tweaks have been made to the transit network since it was overhauled this summer.
One of the matters we heard from the public the most on, and from councillors, was that people needed that late night service into their residential area. And so that's something immediately we've all been working to address.
Gillingham says he's glad transit is finding ways to accommodate the need for later buses. Rebuilding a relationship. Prime Minister Mark Carney has met with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea. Carney acknowledging relations between the two countries have been frosty.
In recent years, we have not been as engaged. In fact, as you know, this is the first formal meeting between the Canadian Prime Minister and the President of the People's Republic of China for 8 years. Distance is not the way to solve problems, not the way to serve our people with people-centric growth, as you have advocated. Pragmatic and constructive engagement is.
Canada's looking to get China to drop its tariffs on canola, seafood, and pork products. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, the spookiest night of the year is here, and if it seems like you're spending more to celebrate Halloween, you are. Sandeep Arora is Associate Professor at the University of Manitoba's Asper School of Business. He says retailers are cashing in on a trend where Halloween isn't seen as a holiday just for kids anymore.
Adults almost try to live their own childhood memories by participating in these Halloween traditions. They like to decorate their house. If they are parents, they like to take their kids trick-or-treating. There are Halloween-themed parties.
And he says trick-or-treating helps to foster neighborhood and community engagement. Well, the community was out last night at Canada Life Centre.
There's a shot by Velarde. He scores! Another one for Velarde, who all of a sudden is white hot.
Gabriel Velarde in the second period on TSN with his second goal of the night. The Jets beating Jonathan Tave's old team, the Chicago Blackhawks, 6-3. After the game, Velarde says it's nice to score.
I got 2 goals, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, and we need to keep going, and I expect to keep scoring. Obviously, it's my job.
Next up for Winnipeg, Saturday afternoon, hosting the Penguins. You can find more news updated throughout the day. cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I always love sports clips, right?
Yeah.
It's better than not scoring, because, well...
And it is my job, after all.
Yeah. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into what's going on in the regional forecast. Of course, always mentioning Halloween because you're going to be out and about tonight. Abby, what do we got?
Yes, a cool start to Halloween across board. We're going to see a few clouds, a few showers, but that should taper off when the kids start going out and about. The north is going to stay chilly, though, with some clouds and some flurries in the forecast and light winds. Winnipeg, right now, we're looking at 2 degrees. It's cloudy out there. Winnipeg has just that slim chance of showers this morning with the winds coming from the north. That will keep things just a bit cool. We'll warm up to about 5 degrees today. For the Pembina Valley region, Modern, Winkler, Alton and Morris, we're looking at 4 degrees right now. Also cloudy there. We do have a good chance of showers for that part of the province. Highs near 5 degrees. And for Brandon towards Nipawin, we're tracking 3 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions at this time. Some showers in the forecast and flurries mixed with that. That would fade out and you see highs around 4 degrees. In the Parkland region, 3 degrees around Dauphin. Slim chance of showers and flurries this morning. Also highs near 3 degrees. For the Interlake region, we're looking at 5 degrees in Gimli right now, mainly cloudy. Also having a slim chance of showers there. You warm up, you just stay steady around 5 degrees for the rest of the day, and then you drop to -2 later tonight. Up north, we're looking at -1 and -2s around Flin Flon and the Pa. Slim chance of flurries in the forecast. We might see some freezing drizzle that will come with that. You get to about 2 degrees later today. Thompson, -2, mostly cloudy. A slim chance of flurries also for you this morning. Temperature stays steady around that 0 for the rest of the day. Further north in Churchill and the York region, we're looking at -2 also, still having that light snow falling in that part of the province. You only get to -1 later today. So it's cool across board, Mercy, and a few showers might be spotted in some regions down south and up north. We're going to be seeing flurries there. Right now, Winnipeg, it is 2 and cloudy.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
All right, Corey is here to tell us about the commute.
Yes, been getting ghosted on the commuter line so far this morning. Haven't heard any major issues yet out there, but you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line if you see anything. 204-788-3093. Though also worth mentioning, though, something that's particularly scary for me as a parent of 2 kids, the time change is this weekend.
Oh, it is Saturday to Sunday, right? We fall back an hour.
So we fall back an hour. You gain an hour of sleep, but that does mean it's more likely that my children will wake me up at 5 a.m.
When they're little, that's when it hits them, and yours are little.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Good reminder, though. It means your car clock will not be changed for at least a month. It's 21 minutes to 8 o'clock on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Next on CBC, it is Halloween. Tonight, almost every porch is going to have a jack-o'-lantern on it. But do you ever wonder what goes on with that? What goes on with the carved pumpkins after Halloween tomorrow? According to Compost Winnipeg, the majority of them are still sent to the landfill, where they can create greenhouse gas emissions. Last year, it says over 19 tons of pumpkins were collected as part of their annual pumpkin drop instead. The next pumpkin smash is coming up on Sunday. Some say the joy of the event is, well, do I have to tell you? Dropping a pumpkin from the second level of a parkade and watching it smash feels cathartic. Carrie Blackburn agrees. She's the event coordinator for Compost Winnipeg, and she likes to ask people, when was the last day you threw nothing away? I love that question, Carrie.
Absolutely. It's a good question.
Yeah. What do most people say? Because I would have a hard time remembering.
Right? It's one of those where they take a moment, pause, and I go, well, probably since you came Earthside, you've created waste. And it's just a fact of our life, you know? We, just as much as we, breathe every day, we produce waste every day.
Yeah. So it gives people, obviously, it's a great question because it makes you mindful of it, right?
Truly.
You were the one, I think, who came up with this pumpkin drop. Is that right?
It is. Yeah. We, with Compost Winnipeg, we serve residential households and collect their compost. And after Halloween, we actually ran into space issues on our trucks while making collections. So to help solve this, we decided to create a whole event about bringing your pumpkin and throwing it off of a parkade.
So you go down to Polo Park, right? That's the partnership.
Correct.
And people go and they throw them off. What are some of your favorite moments?
Oh, there's so many. Actually, it's really cute when you get a young child who's very emotionally attached to their pumpkin and they get to the ledge where they're going to toss their pumpkin and then they go, no, I don't want to do this no more. So we end up kind of putting that one off to the side and people bring so many pumpkins. So we give them another one to drop off and then we solve what to do with the other one a little later on when they're not around.
Oh, that's so cute. We're watching video too. If you're watching the show on YouTube this morning, you're watching that moment where the pumpkins go down and smash. Do you do this? You just coordinate it? Because I couldn't resist. I'd be throwing them off there.
Yeah. So actually, I'm so busy with this event. I rarely have time to go out, purchase a pumpkin, carve it, etc. So for me, it's strictly business around this time of year, apparently. But yeah, I definitely get a few pumpkins to toss myself. There's households and families that show up with like trunk loads of pumpkins. They'll like coordinate their street to bring all of the pumpkins over to the event. So it becomes kind of this like a assembly line of offloading pumpkins and tossing them into the truck.
How many pumpkins have you composted over the years you've been doing this?
Yeah, so almost 25,000 pumpkins have been diverted from the landfill. So these pumpkins are getting composted mostly. Some pumpkins are going to animal sanctuaries for animals to enjoy. And then we also partner with the Leftovers Foundation. So any pumpkins that are still fit for human consumption get to be rescued and turned into pies or soups or other delicious treats.
Which is also, if you can't make it to the event, that's just a good reminder, right? Because it can go in anything pumpkin. And by the way, if you make cookies and you make like really poorly, you make cookies, like sometimes I do, pumpkin makes them soft, like no matter what.
Totally.
It'll make you look all fancy.
Yeah, high moisture content in pumpkins. Who knew?
What do you hope that people keep in mind in the bigger picture about food waste?
Yeah, so even our language hasn't quite caught up. We say we threw it away, but simply away does not exist. Object permanence is completely a thing. Our waste has consequences, especially when it goes into a landfill. It's producing methane, it's producing leachate, which is a toxic runoff that comes out of our landfills that we don't necessarily connect as a consequence of throwing things away. So just taking a step back and realizing, there's definitely something that has to happen to that object when you throw it away. And in the case of pumpkins, it's emissions.
It's shifting your thinking, right? With
Yeah.
that language. I like that. I've never heard that actually put that way. You also, I understand, see composting as reconciliation. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So when we think of pumpkins, we've kind of created this whole understanding of it being something we carve and kind of just it's a very festive thing. But if we look to the First Nations, they planted this as a crop that sustained them through the winter time. It was actually planted with two other crops. So it was corn, beans, and squash or pumpkin. So it was something that sustained humans in North America for ages. And due to other traditions and colonization of Canada, we've picked up kind of habits or traditions from other cultures. So in the case of us carving pumpkins, it was never originally pumpkins that were carved. It's a Celtic tradition. They carved potatoes or turnips. I highly doubt they threw them away after. It was probably a way to just kind of have a creative outlet, whittle a piece of wood or a pumpkin or a potato or a turnip. And so, we've kind of adopted this kind of variation of that tradition. And so just kind of stepping back and wondering, why do we do the things we do? I get it. It's culture, it's tradition, but maybe we can reframe it a little bit and understand there's a bigger picture, and this pumpkin was sustenance for humanity.
Well, and honestly, in this day and age, in 2025, when we're talking about so much about food prices, food waste, but also just sort of the fact that we have hunger, the hunger count just came out last week. It's growing across the country. Like every time you drive by a house tonight and see the pumpkin, if you see that as food, you'll probably change your mindset about what you're going to do tomorrow with this.
Truly, yeah. We have a very different relationship with food because it's in abundance. We don't, we've not had a famine in a while, at least not to our recent knowledge. And it shows. We have this relationship with food where we can throw it away. We let things expire, or we just need to maybe see it as something that, reconnect with our food system.
Can people just show up tomorrow if they are going to take the pumpkin for the drop and do it that way? Or do they have to sign up first?
No sign up, just show up. We have about 1,000 people that come through. It's a pretty quick process, so it's not like you're standing in line all day waiting to toss a pumpkin. It moves along pretty quickly. Just show up. Bring your pumpkin.
And I keep saying tomorrow, but it's Sunday.
It is actually Sunday,
yes.
Previously, we did have it on Saturdays, but because Halloween lands on a Friday this year, we decided everyone wants to sleep in tomorrow.
Okay, so sleep in tomorrow, show up Sunday. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Carrie Blackburn, live in studio, the event coordinator for Compost Winnipeg. So the 5th annual pumpkin drop, 2nd level of CF Polo Park Southeast Parkade. So go to Polo Park, drive around till you figure out which parkade if you're directionally challenged. You'll see everybody. The event is happening Sunday. It runs from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I also want to mention one more event. Wolseley's trying to do something with this as well so you don't waste your pumpkins. So in that neighborhood, tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m., November 1st, the Residents Association is going to be at Robert A. Steen Community Center in Wolseley. What they're going to do is invite you to bring your pumpkin, your jack-o'-lantern. They're going to light them all so it's really pretty and you celebrate with all those pumpkins. And then at 8 o'clock, Hinterland Nature Co-op's going to remove and compost the pumpkins properly. So again, no waste, and one last hurrah for your jack-o'-lantern. Lots of ideas instead of putting things in the waste.
a meal. A trailer home mourns out in center field. Our high school is sinking. The mini moon's rising. The graveyard gets smaller each year. Folks don't make love all that much up here, but we can grow pumpkins, the world's biggest pumpkins. Pumpkin farming, since the mine shut down, are the pumpkins alright? Are the pumpkins alright? Stepdad or two, but there's still a cleaver in me and you. Star Wars still playing, the roller rink's closing. Just a security guard, 12-hour days in a wrecking yard. Pumpkin farming, no one eats the seeds. Are the pumpkins alright? Are the pumpkins alright?
John Southworth and Pumpkins on CBC on this Halloween morning. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Last day of October, 2 degrees in Winnipeg right now. Our high is 5 degrees. And still ahead on the show after 8, after 10 months on the job, the person in charge of advising the province on finding homes for people living in homeless camps, in encampments, is moving on. So she will join us after 8 o'clock to tell us all about that and where she's going and why she's made the decision to leave. So stay tuned. That's after 8. Also after 8, we're still on the Jays bandwagon of excitement, and many Manitobans are gearing up for tonight's game. We're going to take you to a special watch party that's brightening up a 55-plus living complex. We're going to hear from one of the residents who lives there. Right now, though, we are continuing next our conversation about bail reform as the federal government proposes changes that would make it harder for some people to get bail. Bill C-14, it's set to make it more difficult for some to be granted bail. It has been a concern for some legal groups in this province, though. Monday, Peter Kingsley, the executive director of Legal Aid Manitoba, warned that the conversations on bail reform should not obstruct the accused charter rights. This is what he said to CBC host Faith Fundal.
That is why bail reform has to be approached on the understanding people are innocent until proven guilty. The fact that someone is arrested doesn't mean they've committed the crime that they're alleged to have done. They have a right to have that hearing, and they have a right to have liberty, except where it is justified, having gone through all the safeties that are set out in the charters.
Peter Kingsley, executive director of Legal Aid Manitoba. Now, he's among some groups that are worried these proposed changes will impact disadvantaged or marginalized people the most. Alison Fenske's here to weigh in, the director of the University of Manitoba Community Law Centre that operates a prison law clinic that represents inmates, and she's here via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So what
Thanks
worries...
for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. What worries you about this?
I think that people often missing from this conversation is what conditions in jails are actually like and the realities facing folks who are incarcerated, in particular those who are in custody while they're facing trial, and as Peter Kingsley noted, are presumed innocent until guilty.
If an accused is denied bail, what actually happens next?
We have the Winnipeg Remand Center, but the Winnipeg Remand Center has limited capacity and is really meant to be more of a short-term transitionatory placement. The reality is that over 3/4 of our adult jail population in Manitoba are made up of people who are being held in custody before being convicted. And so across the province, people are in jails where they haven't yet been convicted, and they're, again, awaiting that trial and have the benefit of that charter right that they're presumed innocent until proven guilty. And there's a lot of limitations placed on them in terms of their access to even regular sort of offerings within the jail when you're there in a pre-custody situation.
How much pressure does that population put on the justice system then?
It puts incredible pressure on the justice system as more people end up incarcerated before they've been convicted. You're going to push the capacity of these spaces. You're already facing situations where folks are regularly double bunking. So you're seeing, bunk beds put into jail cells. If you're driving up the population of folks who are incarcerated, then you're moving into 3, 4, 6 people to a cell. That's going to look like mattresses on the floor. Maybe you're converting other institutional spaces into more dorm style settings, which will then limit the use of those spaces for their intended purposes. Things like visiting often ends up taxed. You've got more people looking for visits, access to phones, tablets, those sorts of things to connect back to their family. You may not be able to get the kinds of visits you would otherwise be entitled to, which are frankly already quite restrictive.
And what's the impact on someone who might eventually, be tried and found not guilty after being put in pretrial custody?
I mean, any time in custody really spins people into a state of chaos. And so you're already in a situation where while you're in custody, your own liberty is significantly restricted, which can be an incredibly dehumanizing experience. But that chaos extends beyond the walls of a jail. And so when someone is removed from the community, there's an interruption in what might be able to happen in order to support them in terms of the issues that may have gotten them involved in the justice system in the first place. And so there's a significant lack of proper programming and planning to transition people from jail back into the community. People may have lost jobs in the meantime. They're not going to have the same access to educational resources. They may have lost their homes in the meantime while they're incarcerated, and they're coming back to often a place of extreme chaos. And it's really hard to get onto a good path when you're dealing with those significant issues.
When it comes to bail reform, and I want to be careful with this question, but if someone, what they're saying right now is, if somebody has been previously accused of, say, a number of different crimes, maybe they're in a category where there may be some concern that they might breach bail. But they may be, obviously they're still presumed innocent and not guilty of the current crime that's in front of, the court. When you look at this bill, is there a way, or this proposed legislation and change to bail reform, or to the bail system? When you look at this, could there be a way of creating some kind of a 2-tier system? So if you were a repeat offender, it'd be harder to get bail, or is that just as unjust because people can, of course, change and improve their lives?
I mean, I would suggest, Marcy, that it's just as unjust. The issue is that what you've done in the past may be considered a factor in terms of what your future offending behavior looks like, but there's no guarantee either way. And if you're being held in custody, you have not yet been convicted of the charges that have been alleged. And there's already places and factors in place to protect the public. There are grounds to hold people already in terms of having folks' bail applications denied. You can, if you're concerned about people being able to show up for court, that is a ground for detention. If you need to maintain public safety by assessing and managing those potential risks if people are to stay in community, again, that's the secondary ground for detention. And the overall maintenance of the public confidence in the administration of justice is already considered. And so the further that you get away from those well-established constitutional protections and the judicial discretion needed to actually meet people where they're at and consider their individual circumstances, the more likely you are going to have miscarriages of justice, and you're going to have people that are going to be spending time in incarcerated settings where they could be better managed in the community if we had those supports available.
I'm a little short on time, but I do want to ask what your thoughts are on the mayor of the city of Winnipeg going to Ottawa to make presentations when pushed on air about, the fact that there's not really stats that bear out that people who are perpetrating crimes are actually breaching bail, at a greater rate than others. He said, but the impact of the individual crimes, his language on air was tell that to this community or that community that's been impacted. So the stats now, and those aren't seeming to resonate even with those that are fighting for stronger bail reform, including with the mayor. How much does that concern you?
I mean, I feel tremendously for the people in community that are impacted, that are the victims of crime. But I think it's really important to remember in these scenarios that those outliers, those are not indicative of the overall system and the way that bail works in a whole. And it doesn't make sense to make public policy decisions based on political heat generated by these outlying situations. We need to be making our policy choices based on evidence and with respect for the constitutionally protected rights and human rights of all of our citizens.
Allison, thank you.
Thank you.
Allison Fensky, just one of the voices weighing in now in a series of conversations we've had about the proposed bail reforms put forward at the federal level. She's the director of the University of Manitoba Community Law Centre. To Heather now with headlines.
Well, some Ukrainians are making Manitoba home by building businesses. The province says Manitoba welcomed nearly 30,000 Ukrainians since the start of the war, but the spokesperson says the province has not tracked how many of those people have started businesses here. And Winnipeg City Council has given the green light to extending on-request bus service in residential areas later at night. Right now, the on-request service operates until 10:15, but starting in December, buses will operate until 2 in the morning on 10 of Winnipeg Transit's 12 on-request zones. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
2 degrees, high of 5, cloudy tonight, and just a 30% chance of Halloween showers. After 10 months on the job, the person in charge of advising the province on finding homes for those in encampments is moving on. We'll find out why when we talk to Tessa Blakey White Cloud live after 8, and how Jay's Fever is playing out in Winnipeg.
On cue. The great rapper, musician, and previous host of our show, Shad, has a new record, one that marks 20 years in Canadian music. He'll tell you about getting his early start rapping in London, Ontario, getting inspiration from an interview he did with Paul Simon, and why he doesn't worry about a career in music.
Can't do all things, don't dream big till you handle small things.
Q with Tom Power, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Catherine Cullen. The Blue Jays might just wrap it all up tonight. As the World Series comes to a grand finale, we'll talk to a fan who flew back to Toronto for all the excitement and hear from the legendary Blue Jays broadcaster, Buck Martinez. That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Prime Minister Mark Carney is opening the door to a new, more constructive relationship with China. This morning at the APEC summit, Carney had a one-on-one meeting with President Xi Jinping. Now, it's the first formal leader-to-leader contact between the two countries since 2017. The CBC's Murray Brewster has details.
This meeting today is long overdue.
Going into this high-stakes meeting, Mark Carney tried to temper expectations by saying this was a reset of relations with China. A first step, if you will. He was pleased with the result.
We now have a turning point in the relationship, a turning point that creates opportunities for Canadian families, for Canadian businesses.
At the outset, while the media was still in the room, President Xi Jinping spoke first, acknowledging the rift between Canada and China. He said Beijing wanted to push the relationship back onto a healthy, sustainable path. Relations between China and Canada have been strained, defined by almost a decade of mistrust and sporadic economic engagement. Carney was invited to visit China for further talks, and he says he'll go. The dialogue with Xi comes one day after the Chinese leader sat down with U.S. President Donald Trump, a meeting that dialed back the trade war between the two economic superpowers for the time being. Carney didn't say precisely what was accomplished with Xi, and if or when any of the costly sanctions on Chinese electric vehicles and Canadian canola would be lifted. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Gyeongju, South Korea.
Now, just before the two leaders met, Carney made a significant announcement at the APEC summit.
We're about to make announcements of over 20 new investments, deals in critical minerals, totaling almost $2 billion of support.
We're getting more details this morning from the Natural Resources Minister. He's hosting his G7 counterparts in Toronto. Let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, it sounds like a lot of announcements are coming. We've already heard some of us. Take us through them.
John, right off the bat this morning, we have an example of how your security priorities sometimes intersect with resource development. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand is joining Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson and Ukraine's Energy Minister Svetlana Grinchuk to announce $14 million in federal funding for a Canadian company, Focus Graphite. It purifies flake graphite from a couple of Quebec deposits for use in lithium-ion batteries, fuel cells, aerospace components, also graphite coatings for both defense equipment and civilian infrastructure. As its war with Russia grinds on, Ukraine needs and wants to work with North American partners on ventures like this to forge supply chains with the G7. Now, there are other allies, Australia, Mexico, South Korea, that are also joining in these talks. And as they conclude this weekend, we're set to learn more about the first set of public and private partnership deals struck by the new Critical Minerals Production Alliance. That's a group that's trying to build new supply chains between allied countries to ensure that China can't use its global dominance in critical minerals as political leverage.
So developing these resources, Janice, a big part of the Carney government's growth agenda as well, right?
Yeah, and at some point over the next 2 weeks before the Grey Cup on November 16th, the federal government's Major Projects Office is expected to release its second list of priorities. Earlier this week, the Ontario government signed a partnership agreement to enable critical road infrastructure to the Ring of Fire that included commitments to create jobs and improve the quality of life for the Indigenous peoples who'd host this development on their territory. We're watching to see if now that that's on track, more federal funding might follow.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
The Angus Reid Institute is asking Canadians how they feel about the Ontario government's anti-tariff ad. The commercial angered U.S. President Donald Trump, and he responded by threatening to raise the tariffs on Canada again. According to the poll, about 43% of respondents believe that ad put Canada in a worse negotiating position. Only 13%, though, said that they were strongly against the Ontario government's decision to run the ad. On the other side of the equation, 31% strongly supported it. The latest GDP numbers just out moments ago showing Canada's real GDP shrank by 0.3% in August. Well, that mostly offsets the comparable rise in July. The CBC's senior business correspondent, Peter Armstrong, breaks down the numbers.
These numbers paint a picture of an economy that's really struggling. The weakness is pervasive. Just about every sector is showing signs of trouble, signs of the trade war. Goods-producing industries declined for the fifth straight time since the beginning of the year. Wholesale trade is down. Mining and oil and gas extraction, that's down too. There's no question, it's rough out there. And remember, second quarter GDP contracted between April and June, and a recession, of course, is just two back-to-back quarters of negative growth. Today, we got not just the numbers for August, but a preliminary look at September. Now, all told, it looks like the economy will have edged up 0.1% in the third quarter. That means we would avoid an outright recession, but only by the slimmest of margins. So in many, maybe most parts of the country, the fact that we appear to have dodged a recession is cold comfort because it really does feel like one in so many sectors of the economy. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
In a matter of hours, the Blue Jays will attempt to win it all. Game 6 of the World Series goes tonight in Toronto. The Jays need just one more win for their first series win in 32 years. The CBC's Thomas Daigle sets the scene for the biggest night in Toronto sports in decades.
With a Blue Jays win tonight on Halloween, celebrations would be sure to spill out into the streets of downtown Toronto.
We're gonna do it! Blue Jays all the way!
The Jays have done away with any perception the team is competing as underdogs against the Dodgers, returning home with a 3-2 series lead.
Game 6 in the 6? Heck yeah!
As for the fans, they always believed.
I still think it'll go 7, but I think the Jays will pull it off. The run that would win the World Series.
The last time a World Series Game 6 was played in Toronto, this happened.
A swing and a belt, left field, way back, Blue Jays win it!
Joe Carter's famous 3-run walk-off homer in 1993, handing the Jays their second straight title. Tonight, manager John Schneider is sending in veteran pitcher Kevin Gausman to silence LA's bats.
Kev will be ready to go. I can't wait to see what the Rogers Center is going to look, feel, and sound like.
Let's go Jays! Let's go Blue Jays!
For a team that finished last place last season, it's a date with history, a chance to thrill baseball fans in every corner of Canada. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, it's more of a trick than a treat. Shrinkflation is taking a bite out of candy bars this Halloween, with some big candy makers selling smaller packages this year. The consumer advocates say quietly shrinking a product without alerting customers is anything but sweet. Sophia Harris reports.
There's been an inflationary pressure on cocoa prices.
And that may mean some frightening prices this Halloween for chocolate treats. Food marketing expert Jordan Labelle says extreme weather conditions in West Africa, cocoa's main global supplier, are largely to blame.
The harvest has been hit and miss for the last little while.
Prices for confectionery items, which include chocolate, increased 10% over the past year, according to Statistics Canada. And if you don't get hit with higher prices, you may still wind up paying more due to shrinkflation. That's when companies quietly reduce the weight of a product, but not the price, making it hard to detect.
To the naked eye, you don't necessarily pick it up.
CBC News dug up online ads for Halloween candy from October 2024 and discovered that this year, two major companies, Mars and Hershey's, reduced the weight of several Halloween chocolate bar variety packs. Both companies said their products may change due to changing customer preferences. Neither provided specific examples.
The problem with shrinkflation or downsizing is that it's not really transparent.
Consumer advocates like Sylvie de Belleville say companies need to be more upfront when they shrink a product, regardless of the reasons why. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
And with that, we've reached the end of our newscast. Wherever you're celebrating, we wish you a safe and spooky Halloween night. But this year, the kids might be on a bit of a tight schedule, with anxious Blue Jay fan parents keen to wrap everything up by game time. And of course, that game time trick-or-treat challenge gets tighter the further west you live in this country.
It's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark.
By the way, game time is 8 p.m. Eastern. For those of you doing the math across this country, that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, good morning, little trick-or-treaters and Jays fans and Manitobans. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us. It's your Friday show for Halloween on 89.3 FM on CBC. In this half hour of the show, we are going to take you to a place where they're pretty excited watching the Jays. A lot of people gearing up for tonight's game, as you've been hearing. We're going to take you to a watch party that's been brightening up a Winnipeg 55-plus living complex. So we're going to hear from one of the residents there who's been gathering in their main room around the TV for the games. But we begin with understanding why, after 10 months on the job, the person in charge of advising the province and the premier on finding homes for people living in encampments is moving on. That news coming out yesterday. Tessa Blakey Whitecloud joins us to talk about her decision and what she's going to be doing next. Stay with us. Heather Wells is in with those headlines for us. Hello.
Hello. Well, the Manitoba Human Rights Commission says this province needs to do more to make sure every child in Manitoba can learn to read.
I always asked my teacher, can you help me? But she said that I could probably do it on my own.
10-year-old Jacob Dick is in grade 5. He's been diagnosed with dyslexia. In a new report, the commission says students with learning disabilities face barriers to literacy because of our education system. And if it seems like you're spending more to celebrate Halloween, you likely are. Sandeep Arora at the University of Manitoba Asper School of Business says retailers are cashing in on a trend where Halloween is seen as a holiday not just for kids, but for their nostalgic parents as well. Our next local news coming up at 8:30.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
All right, Abby, the weather.
It's going to be a cool and mostly cloudy Halloween across the province with cool conditions in the north, and the south will be staying more like a damp with light showers for the rest of the day. Winnipeg right now, we're looking at 2 degrees, mostly cloudy, just a slim chance of showers through the day, and we're going to see temperatures hang around 5 degrees. Similar conditions we're seeing in other southern part of the province. Up north, we're seeing flurries and a bit of freezing drizzle at this time, but that should settle down and we'll see highs hover around 0. Right now, Winnipeg, we're on 2 heading to 5.
Quiet commute this morning.
Very quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues out there. Maybe some people took some time off to decorate their houses or get their cars. Who knows? But if you do see something going on out there, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned 10 months ago, Tessa Blakey-Whitecloud, the former CEO of Siloam Mission, accepted a big job with the province. She became the Premier's senior advisor in the NDP government's plan to end chronic homelessness within 7 years. But now she's moving on. That news came yesterday. On December 1st, she's starting a new job as president and CEO of the Collaborative Housing Alliance Real Estate Investment Trust. And she's with us this morning to talk a bit about this. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us a little bit more about why you decided to leave this the provincial position.
You know, the provincial position was really phenomenal in terms of setting up a lot of processes and really getting that collaboration going. And Minister Smith's vision is great. She already has so many of the relationships in the sector and is so well regarded and totally gets it. So, you know, in terms of an advisor role, it was more an operations role. And as her department grew, they've added a new assistant deputy minister on homelessness. They've built out those capacities. We really came to the conclusion and the struggle around unit availability. Like, this is a housing stock issue as much as it's an issue that people are experiencing when they are personally experiencing homelessness. And I've been involved with the CHA since the beginning, the Collaborative Housing Alliance. And so when the position became available, it was just an exciting opportunity to go be a part of the solution, still, on the team of solving homelessness, just from a different vantage point.
Was it always part of the plan that you would do the job for less than a year?
I think it was always part of the plan that I would do the job well until we got the processes and the balls rolling. So it was really about setting things up well to make sure that we could support folks in encampments, to make sure that, we had a coalition of agencies that were helping us from everything from identifying where people were to identifying which people matched what housing to making sure those units were furnished and had welcome kits. And all of those processes are now well established.
It does seem that, we still do have some, we'll always have some, but it does seem that we still have some big areas where groups that work on homelessness actually aren't in collaborating and have maybe different visions. Like we have the city enforcing the homeless encampment rules, and their bylaws. And then we have the provincial strategy, yet we don't have transitional spaces. St. Boniface Street Links is out there kind of doing their own thing with cleaning up encampments. How confident are you that, or maybe how concerned are you that this is maybe not the moment to be moving on, given your experience, that those things are all still in flux?
It's interesting to me, I think the tables so there's an encampment to housing implementation committee, and that table is collaborating beautifully and working really, really well together in terms of, and the city's represented, Winnipeg Fire Paramedics, the Winnipeg Police, the outreach teams, a bunch of different agencies. This week we're working on moving folks up the ladder from transitional housing into permanent housing so that more transitional housing is available. A lot of the things that we've been working on are coming to fruition right now. So those impacts are going to be felt over the next couple months. And so I'm really confident that, what I know in my core is that all of those groups are looking to make sure that people are experiencing homelessness for a significantly less amount of time, and ideally not at all. But the answer to not at all is more units. And the Collaborative Housing Alliance is an opportunity to make sure that the required significantly more affordable and supportive housing units we need to effectively address all of our housing challenges, but especially chronic homelessness, can come to fruition to be a part of the solution. Because without units, nothing else can move forward.
And I'm not trying to stir division in here in any way, but some might think that the optics of you leaving after just 10 months suggests that the provincial strategy maybe either wasn't moving fast enough or wasn't maybe a fit to have the kind of impact that maybe this new position might have for you.
I don't think that that's what this is about at all for me. For me, it's really about ensuring that I see how hard and how quickly Minister Smith has made sure that we're reinvesting in the Manitoba housing stock and bringing units back online. And every time we bring those units back online, we fill them. Like there's no period of wait. And so the Collaborative Housing Alliance is an interesting opportunity to make sure that while the province can continue to build off of what's been established and what Minister Smith is already leading beautifully, I can then go work with the Collaborative Housing Alliance to leverage public sector, private sector, philanthropic, capital stacking with other governments to ensure that we can bring more and more units to Manitoba, because that's the real solve.
100 so far is the number of people that have been moved from encampments since you took the job in January. How does that compare to maybe what goal you had as you were nearing a year in?
I think when we talk about this, it was always a 7-year mandate. And I know, because I've done this work in many different places, that growth is exponential, right? So we're at 100 today, but as A, more units come online, and B, now that these processes are in place, things are going to get faster and faster. So I'm really comfortable with, obviously I'd love it to be more because everybody would, but I'm really comfortable with the progress that's been made. And I'm really, really honored by all of the people that have come together to work collaboratively to make that real. And I know that that can continue moving forward.
You mentioned that 7 years, so people might remember that the goal was to end chronic homelessness within 7 years. Are you still confident with that timeline?
Yes.
Thank you, Tessa Blakey-Whitecloud, for being with us this morning. We'll talk to you when you're in your new position and learn more about that work.
I look forward to it.
That is Tessa Blakey-Whitecloud. She's the outgoing senior advisor on ending chronic homelessness in Manitoba. If you want to read more about her decision, she spoke to our news department yesterday, so we do have an article at cbc.ca/Manitoba. She will start her new job as president and CEO of the Collaborative Housing Alliance Real Estate Investment Trust on December 1st.
CBC Gem is your ultimate sports destination. It's free, it's live and on demand, and it's everything you need for a summer full of edge-of-your-seat sports action. Experience exciting leagues featuring elite athletes in the Wanda Diamond League, the new Northern Super League with top women's, international, and Canadian players, and a whole lot more. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Okay. Blue Jays, let's play ball. Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball. Oh, bring on the Rangers, bring on the Royals, bring on the Astros, the Cubbies, and the Mets too. We'll beat the Cardinals, we'll beat the Dodgers, we'll beat them all so bad.
Will we beat the Dodgers tonight? A lot of people are hoping so. We'll play that whole tune after, if ever there was a day to play it. The Blue Jays have not, they haven't won a World Series in some 32 years. They won back-to-back World Series in 92 and 3. They could be champs by the end of the night. It's the only professional baseball team that we have, MLB baseball team that we have in this country. So it has brought upon a renewed excitement for ball here in Canada. Maybe no surprise in Winnipeg, where even our Gold Eyes, right, have some of the best attendance record in their league. But in Winnipeg, there's a lot of people that have never watched baseball before that are on the bandwagon. Residents over at one of the 55-plus apartment complexes that we have in this city have been getting together to watch baseball. Viv Ketchum is one of those residents. She's up early and with us via Zoom. Hey, Viv.
Hi.
Where are you watching baseball in your building?
Down in the lounge here, and it's a big lounge, and there's usually about 20 to 30 people that watch it, all seniors, and it's rather exciting. It's not on a big TV. They pull down the projector and they put it on the big screen, and it's like being right in the front seats. So.
I love that. And who's providing the snacks?
Well, usually the building, or we provide our own snacks. So yeah, so
I
it's
love
pretty
that.
good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you guys are right in downtown Winnipeg coming together. Why did you go down to watch the games? Are you a baseball fan?
No, no, no. But then I think I got caught up in the excitement and being typical nosy me. I wanted to see what was going on. Then I felt the excitement in the room, and then when they hit the home runs, I'm learning baseball jargon. So don't ask me any baseball jargon because I'll be lost.
What was it like on Tuesday's game? I heard you went to the lounge for it. How late did you stay up?
Probably about 1, 2 o'clock. People started leaving about 1 o'clock, but then there was the diehard fans, and out of curiosity, I thought, okay, I'll go to bed. I went, but it was around the 15th inning. I said, no, I can't. I got to stay to the bitter end. So I went back downstairs.
I love that you're getting into this. What's been most exciting for you? I won't ask you to describe the plays specifically, but you must have had some moments, or maybe you've got some players that you really like now on the Jays.
Oh shoot! Why did you ask me that, Marcy?
I don't know. You're gonna.
Yeah. What was that? That young pitcher that he hit 12.
Trey.
That was that was.
You're talking about Trey Savage.
Trey. Yeah.
22 years old and being on that huge stage, and he struck out like every one of the Dodgers.
Yes. Yeah. I think he's Canada's treasure right now. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like to have that excitement in the building, like where you live, just to have neighbors coming together like that?
Well, we're all seniors. Sometimes I'm kind of worried about the guys in the walkies. They get too excited. I don't know. I said, are they going to have a heart attack? But it's just like so much excitement, and it's like it gets my heart going. I can just imagine if somebody was 80 or 70 years old. It's like oh my gosh, it's fun. I think I like watching the game in this area because it's not at a bar or anything like that. It's safe, and there's no drinking in that. Friendly chatter, and that I love this.
I love that you expressed that you it's important to have a safe space to watch a game for you.
Yeah, and we do I know we watch it on a big projector, and I know that was I was surprised to see that not every seniors building has what we have, and we appreciate the grant that was given by New Horizons. I think it was there was the projector and the big screen was bought by a grant, and now we really appreciate that. So I'm sending a shout out for the New Horizons, I think it is.
New Horizons.
We bought the projector and that and all the equipment to watch the game through the grant. So that a shout out to them. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
Obviously, you're going to be watching tonight with your friends and neighbors in the block. Any Halloween baseball crossover happening?
I think let's pretend there's no more Halloween for today.
Do you know
Let's cancel Halloween.
You're speaking for all Canadians, I think. There's all these people today talking about, the poor kids, because I want to watch the game and the doorbell's going to keep ringing or they'll be yelling at the door, right? Yeah. I love that.
Well, yeah, not only the kids, the parents, I got to take them out, but yeah, I think we'll have somebody by the door handing out candy, but that's going to be somebody that's not interested. We're going to have to find somebody really hard to look for somebody to stand by the door to hand out candy. It's going to be hard to find that one person that is not interested in the game.
Well, you enjoy it tonight, Viv. I know I will be as well. Pleasure to have you on and hearing about how you're getting excited about the Jays.
Well, it's also watching those men in uniforms. Yay.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Viv Ketchum, new Blue Jays fan, learning the game. She's going to watch the games down in the lounge in her 55-plus building in Winnipeg. They pulled out a big projector screen. That's part of this story too, right? A lot of people just learning baseball because of all of the excitement around Canada's team.
We'll beat the Dodgers. We'll beat them all so bad. It'll make believe blue. Well, what do you want? Let's play ball. Okay. Blue Jays. Let's play ball. Okay. Blue Jays. Let's play ball. It's a beautiful evening, friends, at the ballpark when the game starts. Warm summer breezes, the sun's going down, and it's all dark. at the ballpark, but that's okay.
Hi, I'm Matea Roach, and I have a show on CBC. It's called Bookends. Every week, authors from Canada and around the world will join me to discuss their latest books. We'll have best-selling authors and rising stars. Our conversations will be smart and surprising, because when the book ends, the conversation begins.
Bookends with Matea Roach. Sunday afternoon at 1:30 in Newfoundland, 3 Pacific, and on demand on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, today on Radio Noon's Call-In between 12:30 and 1, who's the Mariah Carey of Halloween? Right? Today, they're going to do a little battle of the Halloween hits, and we want you to call or text after 12:30 with your favorite songs. This might be a possible contender. Here's Devin Cole on your Halloween morning on CBC, and Woman Today in Today Control of Herself. If you actually look at what that acronym spells out, women in total, control of herself. Which?
Rumor on the street is that her apples are delicious. The jury said she's charming, but her exes say she's wicked. I swear to God, I saw her howling at the sky. She ain't out to get you, but she's better on your side. And she don't wanna be anybody else. She's a woman in total control of herself. It's such a wonder to be under her spell. What a woman in total control of herself. Villainous kitty queen, she's got tricks up her sleeve, and I got a few up mine. She said, am I bad to the bone? 'Cause I get what I want. Mama said it ain't no crime. She don't wanna be anybody else. She's a woman in total control of herself. It's such a wonder to be under her spell. What a woman in total control of herself. Come out and play. It's fun in the dark. Tell me why you're so scared of a woman in charge. Baby, don't run. You're breaking my heart. Tell me why you're so scared of a woman in charge. She don't wanna be anybody else. Ooh. It's such a wonder to be under her spell. What a woman, woman, yeah. She don't wanna be anybody else. She's a woman in total control of herself. It's such a wonder to be under her spell. What a woman in total control of herself.
Halloween morning, Devin Cole and Witch. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is cloudy, 3 degrees right now in Winnipeg and in Brandon. Nothing really spooky about our forecast. Mostly cloudy today, slight chance of showers, and a high of 5. Making Manitoba home by building a business. Olha Zolotkova arrived in Winnipeg with her daughter just months after Russia's mass invasion of Ukraine in 2022. She recently started Buy Zola, an online shop and by appointment boutique in Winnipeg's Exchange, specializing in plus-size clothing for women.
I'm so excited, a little bit worried about that, but I'm happy because now we have freedom, we have chance start something new.
The province says Manitoba welcomed nearly 30,000 Ukrainians since the start of the war and issued more than 27,000 health cards. But the spokesperson says the province has not tracked how many of those people have started businesses here. You can read more on this story on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba. A veteran from Lake Manitoba First Nation hopes the military's actions speak louder than its words. Retired Corporal Melvin Swan won a human rights case against the Canadian Forces in 1994. He had to wait another 30 years to get a formal apology. That came yesterday in Ottawa, where top brass apologized for racial discrimination and harassment current and past members faced while serving their country. Swan says what's important is what comes next.
This time they have to take the next step and mark some improvements in the way they treat my people.
Canada's Chief of Defence Staff says the forces have committed to eliminating systemic barriers, addressing biases at every level, and integrating awareness of systemic racism into recruitment and training. Manitoba's Human Rights Commission finds some students are barred from their right to read because of inequities in the education system. A new report shows students with learning disabilities often go undiagnosed, meaning they never get the support they need to help them read. Natalie Rediger has 2 children diagnosed with dyslexia.
My son was telling me part of him feels very angry that he didn't get the support he needed, but hopeful that hopefully other kids won't have to go through what he went through. So mixed emotions.
The Commission recommends early screenings for learning disabilities across Manitoba, as well as recognizing systemic issues marginalized students face. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is attacking the Liberals at a campaign-style rally in Toronto. Poilievre says young Canadians are paying the price for Liberal failures, but he says he has a plan, and it starts with a bigger paycheck.
Stronger take-home pay is necessary for you to make your mortgage and rent payments, to pay off your debt, and to start a new family. Stronger take-home pay is 3 parts. First, you need a job. Second, you need to bring home what you earn. And third, the dollars you bring home need to preserve their buying power.
Poilievre's appearance comes days before the Carney government tables its budget. Senior Conservatives tell CBC News they're opposed to the budget, but they also don't want to trigger an election. Well, happy Halloween. And if it seems like you are spending more on Halloween this year, you're not the only one. Sandeep Arora at the University of Manitoba Asper School of Business says despite rising prices, people seem not to mind spending extra on candy, costumes, and decorations. And he says the tradition taps into nostalgia and childhood memories. Another reason, he says, is because Halloween bridges religious and cultural boundaries.
It's something that can be celebrated widely among a very diverse population like that we have in Canada. It's very secular in nature and very playful in nature.
Unlike holidays where people stay home to celebrate with family, Aurora says trick-or-treating is a collective ritual, fostering neighborhood involvement and a sense of community. Well, for some, focus will move from Halloween tonight to baseball. And Game 6 of the World Series tonight at Rogers Centre in Toronto.
So I'm excited as hell to see what this place is like. The guys are too. They're talking about it as well. We can't wait. Kind of want the game to start right now. It should be fun.
Blue Jays manager John Schneider, whose team is just 1 win away from the World Series title. The Jays lead the LA Dodgers 3-2. They start with their ace tonight, 34-year-old Kevin Gausman. Game time, with the whole country watching, is 7 o'clock Central. You can find more news updated throughout the day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I think my favorite line of this half hour was Viv Ketchum watching her 55-plus block, and she said everyone's coming down. And it was so exciting that on Tuesday with the 18-inning game, she was worried people were going to have heart attacks.
I know. People in the newsroom are already saying, I hope it gets settled tonight because we just can't take anymore.
Exciting. All right, thank you for the week, Heather.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, you as well. Lots of fun stuff going on today. Big thanks to Darren Marash, Corey Funk, Abby Adeyemi, Heather Wells, as well as Megan Ketchison, Joni Nicolo, and Aaron Broman in our news center this week. Our associate producers, Sierra Sanders, Chidi Akuma, May McKillop, Carmen Ponto, Marshall Hodgins, Jenna Badasso, Dylan Longhurst, and Chloe Friesen, as well as CA reporters in unit, Channelie Vidal and Jim Agapito, Nadia Kidwai, Marjorie Dalhouse, and Faith Fundal, as well as Bruce Layden. And big thanks also to, I'm missing one name, I'm going to get it in a moment. I'm missing Sophia's last name. So
Peralta Baron.
Thank you. Sophia Peralta Baron also producing for us this week. Corey, last word here.
Yes, northbound Pembina at Jesse, there's a stopped vehicle with mechanical issues according to the city in the northbound curb lane on Pembina, causing some pretty big backups there, so keep left to get around that.
I also missed our producers, Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson. So thank you guys, of course. Okay, Abby.
Cool and cloudy and some fog will spice up the spookiness tonight in Winnipeg. And don't forget to turn back the clock on the microwave on Sunday.
Very good, yes. Saturday to Sunday, wee hours of Sunday morning, we're going to be falling back and gain that hour. Well, no matter what you're doing today, enjoy it. Go Jays! I'm about to go on Newsnet, people. I'll try to represent Manitoba well. They asked if we're excited here, and I think a few of you are. If you want to weigh in and have me share your story about why you're watching the Jays, you can still get it in time. Write to us on Facebook. And take care. Thanks for listening to CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. The Current's next.